I quit being Brielle Sawyer's simp after she humiliated me in public. 3 days later, the whole school watched her chase me. She had told me to stop hovering, so I finally stopped. Brielle Sawyer put her hand on my sleeve in the cafeteria hallway. "Connor," Brielle asked, too sharp for a casual classmate, "where are you going?" I looked at her hand. Then I pulled my sleeve free. "You asked me to stop hovering," I told Brielle. So I stopped. That was the payoff nobody in Ridgemont expected. Brielle wanted my attention again, but access to me had one rule now. She had to choose it where people could hear. If I ran back after one jealous grip, I became the old joke again. And before the week ended, Jenna Mills, Spencer Merritt, and half the school would test that rule. But it started with one stupid volleyball. That morning, I waited near Brielle's locker with chocolate milk in my hand. The gossip table girl called me Brielle's morning alarm. Zoe Phelps, Brielle's volleyball friend, heard it and winced like even she thought the joke had grown mold. Brielle did not wince. She looked at the carton, then at the people watching. "Connor," Brielle said, "cold enough to chill the milk. Stop hovering." I tried to laugh it off. Brielle cut me apart faster. "You are always just something. Walking with me, waiting for me, being there. It is annoying." The old me took one step after her. Then a loose volleyball flew out of the gym doorway and smacked the side of my head. Chocolate milk burst across my shoes. Brielle stopped for one breath, saw I was alive, and kept walking, so I threw the carton away and walked the other direction. For once, I did not follow. The next morning, the school expected the regular show. Mr. Fallon, our homeroom and math teacher, stood at the board writing the date. Brielle sat near the window. Zoe sat beside her, already watching the door like she had bought tickets. I walked in with my bag over one shoulder. Most days, I greeted Brielle before I sat, asked if she needed anything, and handed her whatever tiny offering my loser brain had prepared. That morning, I passed her desk. I sat down. My chair legs scraped once. Mr. Fallon stopped writing. That man had watched 2 years of my public simping and survived district cafeteria coffee. He was hard to impress. Still, his marker paused mid-date. Zoe whispered across the aisle, "Did Connor just load properly?" The room cracked. The gossip table girl from the lockers turned around. "Wait, did Brielle dump him for real?" Opened my notebook. "I needed her permission for that?" I asked. A few people laughed. Brielle's pencil stopped above her page. "Small reaction! Huge consequence!" Before that day, my attention had been cheap background noise. When I removed it, people heard the silence like a fire alarm. Mr. Fallon cleared his throat. "Mr. Byrne," Mr. Fallon said, tapping the board, "since you are awake and seated before the bell for once, solve problem 4. Cheap shot from authority. Fair shot, though." I stood, took the marker, and solved it. I skipped the speech and wrote the numbers. Mr. Fallon looked from the board to me. "Correct," Mr. Fallon said. "Unexpectedly painless." Zoe put a hand over her mouth. The gossip table boy said, "He can do math too?" Brielle was hiding features. Brielle's chair shifted. I sat down without looking at her. That mattered more than the answer. The school tested the change before lunch. At the end of homeroom, Brielle's pen rolled off her desk and tapped my shoe. Tiny thing, stupid thing, dangerous thing. The old Connor would have picked it up like a knight retrieving a sword. He would have smiled, handed it back, and accepted the half-second of eye contact as payment. My hand moved once out of habit. Then I stopped it. The pen stayed on the floor. Zoe saw everything. Of course she did. That girl had surveillance powers powered by drama and granola bars. Zoe leaned across Brielle's desk. "Customer service is closed?" Brielle's eyes dropped to the pen. Then she looked at me. I pushed my chair in. "You got it," I said. Brielle's face tightened. "It is a pen. Exactly." The gossip table boy made a tiny sound behind me. He understood too much and had too little survival instinct. Brielle bent and picked up her own pen. "A normal action, a nuclear event apparently," Zoe whispered. "Historic." Brielle snapped. "Zoe, stop narrating." Zoe lifted both hands. "I am documenting culture." I walked out before my face betrayed me. That pen did more damage than any speech. The room saw the service counter close. Brielle saw it too, and for once, she had to reach for the thing she dropped. At lunch, the Commons cafeteria turned my silence into a sport. People kept testing me with tiny bait. A girl from Zoe's table leaned over as I passed. "Connor, Brielle's at the window table today." "Good eyesight," I said. The girl blinked. Her friend laughed into her fries. I kept walking. That was the part nobody expected. They had spent years treating me like a toy with one button. "Press Brielle. Watch Connor move." Easy entertainment. The button broke. I took an empty seat 2 tables away. Then Jenna Mills sat down across from me. Jenna was from the next class over, the kind of girl people noticed because she smiled like she had already forgiven the room. I knew her name from shared assignments and hallway noise. We had never eaten together. She put her tray down like this was normal. "Connor, Jenna said, glancing at the empty chair beside me. Is this seat cursed or just available? The whole table went quiet. Jenna had picked the worst seat in the commons. Beautiful timing. Criminal timing. I looked at the chair. Depends who is asking, I said. Jenna smiled. Me! Then it is available. Two girls at the end of the table immediately leaned in. They smelled blood, romance, and cafeteria fries. Deadly combination. Across the room, Zoe's head turned. Then Brielle's did too. I did not stare. After the volleyball, I promised myself one simple thing: stop chasing, stop explaining, and stop running back because Brielle looked confused by the exact distance she ordered. Jenna ate one fry and said, "You are calmer than the rumor said?" "What rumor?" I asked. Jenna pointed with her fry toward the gossip table. "That Brielle finally put you down." The old me would have flinched. The new me chewed slowly. "Bad rumor," I said. "I stood up on my own." Jenna laughed. The sound carried. Brielle's cup stopped halfway to her mouth. Zoe saw it. Of course Zoe saw it. Zoe probably noticed dust gaining confidence. Zoe leaned toward Brielle and said something I could not hear. Brielle's mouth tightened. That should have ended the first day. The school refused to end there. After lunch, I passed Brielle near the east stairwell. No crowd, table, or volleyball. Just the girl who had asked me to stop hovering and the boy finally obeying. I moved to the side. Brielle moved to the same side. I stopped. She stopped too. For two people avoiding a conversation, we were terrible at traffic. Brielle looked past my shoulder. Jenna Mills? Her tone tried to be casual and missed by a full county. She needed a seat, I said. Brielle folded her arms. So now you eat with anyone? I ate with a person who asked. Brielle's eyes sharpened. You make that sound important. I am. The stairwell door opened behind her. Two freshmen walked out, saw us, and immediately slowed down. Gossip has no age limit. Brielle noticed them. Her face went smooth again. Do whatever you want, Connor, Brielle said. I nodded. That is the plan. Then I walked around her. She did not call me back. She also did not move for 3 full seconds. I know because the freshmen counted with their faces. By final bell, Ridgemont had upgraded me from annoying to suspicious. The gossip table girl tried again near the lockers. So, Connor, she said, pretending she cared about her zipper. Are you and Jenna a thing? No. Are you and Brielle done? Asked Brielle what we were. The girl's mouth opened, then closed. No one liked that question. It made the old joke uglier. If Brielle and I had never been anything, then everyone had spent years laughing at me for chasing a door. Still accurate. Still rude. Zoe walked up behind the gossip table and clapped once. Wow, Zoe said, looking at me. The update came with teeth. I shut my locker. Small patch, I said. Zoe grinned wider. Behind her, Brielle had stopped near the corner. She heard that one. Good. Then I made the cruelest move available. I left without a wave, a speech, a wounded glance, or a last-second pathetic turn. Ridgemont High could keep its little circus without me. The old Connor would have waited near the gate for Brielle, pretending the timing was coincidence. He would have offered to carry something. He would have apologized for making her uncomfortable after she humiliated him. That guy deserved a memorial bench and a restraining order. I went home instead. My phone buzzed once on the walk. A message from an unknown number flashed across the screen. Jenna Mills texted, "Thanks for letting me sit there. Sorry if that made things weird." I stopped under the crosswalk sign. Before I could answer, another message came through from the class group chat. Someone had taken a blurry cafeteria photo of Jenna across from me. The caption read, "Connor Byrne replacement arc?" Ridgemont had the subtlety of a dropped lunch tray. Replies came too fast. The gossip table girl sent 3 laughing faces. The boy from homeroom wrote, "Brielle lost premium access." Zoe replied with one word, "Maintenance." Then the chat went dead for 6 seconds. That meant Brielle had opened it. Ridgemont students could detect a screenshot pause like wildlife sensing a storm. Someone typed, "Too soon?" Nobody answered. That silence was better than the joke. The class had finally found a button that made Brielle's side of the room hesitate. I typed one reply to Jenna. I texted, "Weird was here before you." The typing bubble appeared, vanished, then appeared again. Jenna Mills texted, "Good. I hate being the headline." That made her less dangerous to me and much worse for Brielle's calm act. Jenna treated the seat like shelter. The class treated it like a throne. When I looked up, 2 girls by the bike rack were pretending to check their locks while watching my screen. Even leaving school had become a group project. One girl looked away so fast her lock spun backward. Ridgemont deserved a terrible nature documentary. Then I put the phone away. At the corner, I glanced back once. Brielle stood outside the school doors with Zoe beside her. She was looking at me. I kept walking. Outside the doors, the distance she had asked for was finally visible. I had given it to her clean. The class noticed. Mr. Fallon noticed, Zoe noticed, Jenna noticed, and Brielle noticed most of all. The problem was simple. A girl like Brielle could ignore a boy chasing her. She had no practice ignoring the space he left behind. By the next morning, Ridgemont had promoted my silence into a public event. The class group chat had turned the cafeteria photo into a crime scene. One version circled Jenna's tray, another version circled my face. A third version put a fake crown over the empty chair beside me. The caption said, "Open applications for Connor Burns' lunch era. Terrible work, strong engagement." The gossip table girl had the fake crown version open when Brielle walked into homeroom. She lifted the phone too high. "Brielle, is the chair open now, or do applications go through you?" The room went so quiet Mr. Fallon stopped sorting papers. Brielle looked at the fake crown. Then she looked at me. "Ask Connor," Brielle said. "Tiny dodge, large damage." Zoe Phelps sat beside Brielle, grinning like she had already seen the deleted footage. Zoe leaned toward Brielle and whispered loudly, "You are going to crack a tooth if you pretend harder." Brielle snapped. "Zoe!" Mr. Fallon tapped his desk. "Zoe Phelps, torment people after attendance." "Respectfully," Zoe said, "this is educational." The room laughed. Brielle turned toward the window like glass could protect her. I sat down and opened my notebook. The no chase rule had a second clause now. If I accepted any girl who smiled at me just to punish Brielle, I became the same clown in a new costume. I could stop chasing without turning Jenna Mills into a weapon. I hated how reasonable that sounded. It kept me from doing something stupid. Lunch tested it immediately. I had barely reached the commons when Jenna lifted one hand from the same table as yesterday. Jenna Mills, the next class girl who had picked the most radioactive seat in school, had saved the chair across from her. The gossip table noticed before I did. One girl said, "Round 2. The boy beside her said, "Burn is up." I pointed at him with my tray. "Please never commentate my lunch again." He raised both hands. "My bad, franchise player." The table laughed. I sat across from Jenna because running away would have been weirder than sitting. Jenna pushed a napkin toward me. "Your tray is leaking," Jenna said. "Even my food wants out," I said. Jenna laughed. "You always talk like that?" "Only under surveillance." Jenna glanced toward the window tables. Brielle sat there with Zoe and 2 volleyball girls. Brielle had her phone face down. Her posture said she had no interest in my table. Her eyes ruined the performance twice in 5 seconds. Zoe saw it and nearly choked on her drink. Then Brady Hume arrived. Brady was Jenna's ex, a senior with clean sneakers, gelled hair, and the kind of grin guys wear when they think volume counts as confidence. He stopped beside our table and looked at Jenna like she had borrowed his property. "Jenna," Brady said, loud enough for witnesses, "this is where you ended up?" Jenna's smile dropped. There it was, the explanation nobody needed a park bench to hear. Brady looked me over. "Connor Byrne, Brielle's spare boyfriend." The gossip table inhaled like a vacuum. Brielle's head turned. Zoe whispered something to her and sat straighter. I put down my fork. "Brady," I said, "because a spoken name helps when a clown enters with theme music. Say that again slower. I want the table to hear you lose with confidence." His grin twitched. Brady leaned both hands on the table. "Relax. I am just surprised Jenna picked your pity party. I figured she had standards." Jenna looked at her tray. That annoyed me. I could handle being called spare parts. I had years of training. Jenna shrinking because her ex needed an audience was different. I looked at Brady's hands on our table. "Move," I said. Brady laughed. "Or what?" I lifted his tray from the empty space beside him and slid it 2 inches toward the edge. "Or your lunch learns gravity before you do." The boy from the gossip table muttered, "He is cooked." Brady heard it. That made him dumber. He straightened and pointed toward the window table. "You know what? Keep Jenna. I might go talk to Brielle. She looks bored anyway." A sharp silence hit the tables around us. Brielle's cup stopped halfway down. Brady smiled like he had found the bigger trophy. He had no idea he had just stepped on the only wire in the room. I stood. Jenna grabbed my wrist for half a second. "Connor, do not!" I looked down at her hand. Jenna let go fast. "I am fine," I told Jenna. Then I faced Brady. "You lost Jenna," I said. "Now you want to borrow Brielle's name so the room forgets you got dumped." Brady's face reddened. The gossip table made a wounded animal sound. "They were eating this up, shameless people. My people, sadly," Brady said. "You still act like you own Brielle." "No," I said, "that was my old problem. I acted like standing near her meant something." Across the cafeteria, Brielle's eyes stayed on me. My voice stayed level. "I still like Brielle," I said. "I am done auditioning for people who want attention only when somebody else is watching." That line hit 3 tables at once. Jenna sat back like I had opened a window. Brady lost his grin. Brielle looked away too late. Zoe turned to Brielle and said, "Loud enough to be evil, why are you listening so hard?" Brielle snapped, "I am eating." Zoe looked at Brielle's untouched tray. Aggressively, I see. The volleyball girls laughed. Brielle's ears went red. "Beautiful disaster! No notes!" Brady tried to recover by clapping slowly. Big speech from the guy who followed Brielle around like a lost dog, Brady said. He should have stopped before the slow clap. The slow clap is where confidence goes to die. I picked up my tray. Jenna, I said, I am going to sit at the end table. You can stay here if you want. You can move if you want. Either way, Brady can perform for his reflection. Then I walked away. I did not wait for Jenna. Waiting would have turned it into a rescue fantasy, and I had retired from unpaid fantasy labor. Jenna stood anyway. Her chair scraped loud across the floor. Brady stared at her. Seriously? Jenna held her tray with both hands. Brady, Jenna said, voice shaking and still clear, I sat with Connor because he did not ask me to make you jealous. The commons went quiet enough to hear the soda machine hum. Jenna walked to my table. She sat down across from me again. Brady had a whole cafeteria and somehow nowhere to put his face. That was talent. Brielle watched Jenna sit. Zoe watched Brielle watch Jenna. I watched my fries because one of us needed dignity. Jenna breathed out. Sorry, Jenna said. I thought I could handle him. You did, I said. He is standing there like a wet poster. Jenna laughed through the embarrassment, then her eyes went serious. I did use your table a little, Jenna said. Brady was supposed to see. I appreciated the honesty. Ugly honesty saves time. Thanks for telling me after the explosion, I said. Jenna winced. Fair. I leaned back. Jenna, I said, making sure she heard the boundary clean, I am not your revenge seat. She nodded. I know, Jenna said. That is why I am apologizing. Good. Apology accepted. The gossip table boy whispered, This is healthier than health class. I pointed at him without looking. Final warning, sports desk. He shut up, but he smiled. Even parasites enjoy being noticed. Then Brielle stood. The window table went still. For half a second I thought she was coming over. She picked up her tray and walked to the trash. The long route past our table, Jenna and me. She stopped beside the trash can and scraped food she had barely touched into it. Connor, Brielle said without looking at me. You are loud today. There it was, the safest possible complaint. I looked up. People keep saying my name, I said. Rude of me to attend. Jenna pressed her lips together. Zoe, still at the window table, covered her mouth with both hands. Brielle turned toward me. Her expression was smooth. Her fingers were tight around the tray. You always make a joke when you are avoiding something, Brielle said. My stomach tightened. I stood, because sitting made me feel cornered. What am I avoiding? I asked. Brielle looked at Jenna, then back at me. She did not answer. Zoe appeared at Brielle's shoulder like a demon summoned by awkwardness. Brielle, Zoe said sweetly, he asked a direct question. Those are legal in this state. Brielle glared at Zoe. Zoe smiled harder. Brady, desperate for one more head of relevance, muttered, This is pathetic. I turned my head. Brady froze. I smiled. From you, that is a 1-star review for failure. The gossip table broke. Brady grabbed his bag and left the commons with his tray still on the table. His abandoned chocolate pudding sat there like a tiny surrender flag. Jenna looked at it, then at me. Can I throw that away? Jenna asked. Please, I said. It is seen enough. Jenna stood and dumped Brady's tray. Small act. Big room. When Jenna came back, people looked at her differently. She had walked away from Brady in public, thanked me without clinging to me, and become more than rebound bait in one ugly lunch. Good for her, bad for Brielle's calm act. Brielle's gaze followed Jenna for one extra beat. Then Brielle looked at me. Connor, Brielle said, quieter now, do you really still like me? The whole table pretended to stop listening. Horrible actors. Every one of them. I could have used that question, answered too hard, and turned one crack in Brielle's guard into a sprint back to the old script. Instead, I picked up my tray. Yes, I said, from over here. Brielle blinked. I walked to the tray return. Behind me, Zoe whispered, Oh, he is dangerous now. Was just tired. Tired looked a lot like dangerous when people were used to free access. After lunch, Jenna caught me near the east stairwell. Jenna kept both hands on her backpack straps, like she wanted me to see she was not grabbing for another scene. Connor, Jenna said, I meant the apology. I know. I'm still going to sit somewhere else tomorrow, Jenna said. Brady needs to learn. I can disappear too. Good plan. Jenna smiled. You should teach a class. Step 1, I said, get hit by a volleyball. She laughed and left. At the stairs, I found Brielle standing one landing above me. Zoe was beside her, pretending to text with the worst fake texting form I had ever seen. Brielle looked at Jenna's back. Then she looked down at me. So Jenna is gone tomorrow? Brielle asked. The question came too fast. Zoe's thumb stopped moving. I held the railing. Seems like it. Brielle's mouth tightened, then softened. Good for her. Yeah, I said. Good for her. I started up the stairs. Brielle did not move aside until the last second. Our shoulders almost touched. Old Connor would have treated that like a holiday. New Connor kept walking. At the top landing, Zoe called after me. Connor, Zoe said, bright and mean. Hypothetically, if someone wanted attention from over there, how far is over there? I did not turn around. Far enough that someone has to walk, I said. Zoe laughed. Brielle said nothing. Her silence followed me down the hall anyway. Brady had made the next step ugly and public for me. I had refused the rebound script in front of Jenna, refused the spare boyfriend script in front of Brielle, and said I still liked Brielle while staying out of reach. So the next question stopped being whether I still cared. The next question was nastier. If Brielle wanted any of that attention now, what was she willing to do where people could see? Brielle answered that question at lunch, because the Commons cafeteria had become our emotional crime lab. The next day, Jenna sat with 2 girls from her own class. She gave me a small wave, then looked away before the room could turn her into another headline. Smart girl! The gossip table hated maturity. They needed fresh meat. They found me walking with 2 girls from Zoe's volleyball table. One girl had asked about Mr. Fallon's homework. The other had stolen half my fries and called it a consultation fee. Connor, the fries thief said, you were weirdly useful when you stopped looking tragic. I charge by the insult, I said. The girl laughed and bumped my shoulder. That bump was harmless. Brielle saw it like the building had caught fire. She stood from the window table. Zoe's head snapped up. The gossip table girl whispered, "Oh, here we go." Brielle crossed the commons with her tray still in one hand. She looked calm from the shoulders up. Her tray betrayed her. The fork rattled against the plate with every step. She stopped beside me. The fries thief smiled too brightly. "Hi, Brielle." Brielle did not answer her. Brielle's hand closed around my sleeve. Same sleeve as the hallway. Same grip, different audience. "Connor," Brielle said, "come with me." The table went feral. A boy near the end whispered, "She grabbed him." Zoe stood so fast her chair barked against the floor. I looked at Brielle's hand. Then I looked at her face. "Why?" I asked. Brielle's eyes flicked to the 2 girls beside me. "Because I said so," Brielle snapped. "That used to work on me. A lot of embarrassing things used to work on me." I pulled my arm just enough that she felt the resistance. "Try again," I said. The commons held its breath. Brielle's face flushed. She leaned closer and lowered her voice, which helped nobody because everyone had already sold their souls to hear this. "Because watching them hang all over you made me feel weird," Brielle said. The fries thief covered her mouth. Zoe looked like a holiday morning had kicked down the door. I kept my face still. "Weird," I repeated. Brielle glared. "Do not make me say it louder. You already grabbed me in surround sound." The gossip table made a wounded wheeze. Brielle's hand tightened. Then she pulled. I could have stayed put with the whole room behind me and enough witnesses to start a documentary. Instead, I went with her. The obstacle was simple. If I turned her first reach into a public defeat, she would retreat behind pride for another month. I wanted truth, not a cafeteria trophy. Still, I made her walk past the gossip table. Petty? Yes. Necessary? Also yes. The gossip table girl stared at Brielle's hand on my sleeve. Brielle saw her looking. Her grip loosened. I said softly, "Too late." "They have eyes." Brielle dragged me into the east stairwell and let go like my sleeve had burned her. The door swung shut behind us. She turned on me. "You are enjoying this," Brielle said. "A little. That is awful. You did call me annoying in public for years." Brielle opened her mouth, then shut it. That was new. Normally she had arrows ready. I leaned against the railing. "Say it clean, Brielle." Her eyes narrowed. "Say what?" "What you felt when you saw me with them." Brielle looked toward the closed cafeteria door. Behind it, Zoe's laugh cut through for half a second. Brielle muttered, "I hated it." "Because they were acting like you were theirs." The words hit hard enough to make the stairwell feel smaller. There it was, jealousy, wearing Brielle's voice and pretending it had taken the wrong bus. I felt careful instead. "Brielle," I said, "you asked me to stop acting like I belonged near you." "Know what I said," Brielle snapped. "Then what do you want?" She looked at me. For 1 second, the answer almost reached her mouth. Then pride tackled it at the goal line. "I want you to stop being weird," Brielle said. I laughed once. She looked insulted. "Really?" I asked. Brielle crossed her arms. "You changed overnight." "Bade, you are making it sound like my fault." I pushed away from the railing. "I gave you what you asked for." Brielle's jaw tightened. The stairwell door opened. Zoe slipped in with both hands raised. "Before anyone commits emotional manslaughter," Zoe said, "Mr. Fallon is looking for you, Connor. Also, everyone heard enough to ruin lunch." Brielle spun toward her. "Zoe!" Zoe smiled. "Brielle, you abducted a boy by the sleeve in front of witnesses. My job here is community support." Brielle's face went red enough to heat the stairwell. I stepped past both of them. "Tell Mr. Fallon I am alive," I said. Zoe pointed down the hall. "Different message. A senior from Marley's homeroom is waiting outside. Your sister wants you on the west roof." That stopped me. Marley Byrne was my older sister, a Ridgemont senior, and the only person at home who could insult me while leaving snacks outside my door. She rarely summoned me during school. Brielle's expression changed. She knew Marley existed. She did not know much else. I had spent years orbiting Brielle, not giving guided tours of my family damage. I left the stairwell. The senior outside had a hall pass in one hand and panic in both eyes. "Connor Byrne?" the senior asked. "That is still me. Marley said she needs 5 minutes," the senior said. "She thinks she messed you up." Great. My sister had chosen drama with rooftop seating. I headed for the west roof. Halfway there, I heard 2 sets of footsteps behind me. I turned. Zoe stopped first. Brielle stopped behind her. Zoe pointed at Brielle without shame. "She is worried," Brielle hissed. "Zoe, shut up!" I looked at Brielle. Brielle looked away. I could have told them to leave. I almost did. Then Marley pushed open the roof door above us and shouted down the stairwell. "Connor, if you make me wait after I used emotional vulnerability, I will throw you off something short," Zoe whispered. "I love her already." I walked up. The west roof smelled like hot tar and cafeteria pizza. Marley stood near the safety rail in a school hoodie, arms folded, hair whipping across her face. Marley saw Zoe and Brielle behind me. Her eyes sharpened. "Why did you bring an audience?" Marley asked. "I collected them against my will," I said. Zoe raised one hand. "Zoe Phelps, volleyball friend, terrible boundaries." Marley looked at Brielle. Brielle stood near the door, suddenly quiet. "And you?" Marley asked. Brielle swallowed. "Brielle Sawyer." Marley's eyebrows rose. "Oh," Marley said, "the one." I pinched the bridge of my nose. Marley pointed at me. "Mom says you came home yesterday, ate cereal in silence, and did not ask if Brielle walked home yet." Brielle flinched at her own name. I said, "Mom has surveillance issues." Marley stepped closer. "Did I do something?" The bite left her voice. There was the real reason for the rooftop summons. Marley thought my sudden change came from home, from her, from something she missed. I kept it short. "No," I told Marley. "A volleyball hit me. Brielle told me to stop hovering." I finally listened. Marley stared. Then she looked at Brielle, then back at me. "A volleyball fixed you?" Marley asked. "Temporary patch." Zoe coughed into her hand. Marley's mouth twitched, then she punched my shoulder. Lightly, mostly. "You scared Mom," Marley said. "I changed lunch seats. You changed oxygen patterns," Marley said. "You have been obsessed with one girl since freshman year." Brielle lowered her eyes. That made the roof quiet. I did not want Marley bleeding guilt in front of Brielle. I also did not want Brielle thinking one soft moment erased the rule, so I gave Marley the fastest test I could. "Name 10 good things about me," I said. Marley blinked. "What? You were worried you ruined me. Name 10 good things." Marley opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Zoe slowly covered her smile. Brielle stared at the ground. Marley snapped, "You put empty cereal boxes back in the cabinet. That is one crime, not one compliment. You hum when you brush your teeth, also a crime. You once tried to fix the sink with a butter knife." "Marley, I'm thinking under pressure." Zoe lost one laugh. Marley glared at her, then looked back at me. Her voice softened despite the glare. "You cut the crust off Mom's sandwich when she works late," Marley said. "The porch light stays on after my practice. My back tire gets checked when it rains. Mom gets the good coffee, and you watch people closer than they deserve. You are also annoying, dramatic, and allergic to folding laundry." She stopped. Nobody joked for a second. Then Marley punched my shoulder again. "There," Marley said. 10-ish, do not make me count." I swallowed. "Good enough." She folded her arms. "So this is really about Brielle?" Brielle looked up fast. I answered before Marley could weaponize the silence. "This is about me being tired of chasing someone who told me to leave her alone." Marley looked at Brielle. Brielle's face went pale, then pink. Zoe watched them like tennis with explosives. Marley nodded once. "Fair," Marley said. "Painfully fair. I hate it, but fair." That should have closed the roof scene. Then the door behind Brielle creaked. Brielle jumped. I looked past her. The metal trash can by the door rocked once, like someone had bumped it while trying to hide. Zoe turned slowly toward Brielle. Marley turned too. Brielle froze. I stared at her. "Brielle," I said, "why are you on the west roof?" Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. The question stripped the scene clean. 10 minutes ago, she had dragged me from girls because she hated them acting like I belonged to them. Now she had followed me to a family talk and got caught beside a trash can like a spy with budget cuts. Zoe put both hands over her mouth. Marley squinted. "Did she follow you?" Brielle snapped. "I came with Zoe." Zoe's hands dropped. "Absolutely not," Zoe said. "I have many sins. This one walked herself." Brielle looked betrayed. Zoe shrugged. "Do not drag me into your crimes without snacks." Marley stared at Brielle, then at me. Oh, Marley said, this is messy. Helpful, I told her. Brielle took one step back. I did not move toward her. I did not soften it. You called me annoying for following you, I said. This is a weird audition. Zoe made a strangled noise. Marley turned away like she was coughing, except her shoulders were shaking. Brielle's whole face went red. I was checking on Marley, Brielle said. Marley lifted one hand. We have met for 4 seconds. Brielle's excuse died on impact. Cooked. Fully plated. I almost felt bad. Almost. Brielle grabbed the roof door handle. Forget it, Brielle said. She went inside before anyone could stop her. Zoe looked after her, then at me. Connor, Zoe said, lower now. She is terrible at this. At what? I asked. Zoe smiled like she knew the answer and hated that she could not say it for Brielle. Walking, Zoe said. Obviously. Then Zoe followed Brielle down the stairs. Marley waited until the door shut. Then she hit my arm with the back of her hand. What is wrong with you people? Marley asked. High school. Disgusting. I laughed despite myself. Marley looked at the door. Her face softened for half a beat. She followed you, Marley said. I noticed. Are you going to chase after her? No. Marley nodded, satisfied and worried at the same time. Good, Marley said. Make her use her legs. Equality. That was my sister's idea of emotional support. Strangely effective. By final bell, rumor said Brielle had dragged me out because I flirted with 2 volleyball girls. Another said Zoe caught Brielle stalking me. The worst version claimed Marley threatened to throw Brielle off the roof. Ridgemont did not need facts, it needed cardio. I ignored most of it. Then I opened my locker and found a chocolate milk carton sitting on the shelf. No note, no name, just the same brand I had dropped when the volleyball hit me. I looked down the hall. Brielle stood near the stairwell with Zoe beside her. Zoe was smiling. Brielle was looking anywhere except at me. A simple apology would have been cleaner. Clean was apparently illegal. I picked up the carton and drank it where I stood, without walking to Brielle. Zoe saw that and slapped Brielle's arm like she had just won a bet. Brielle's mouth opened. I lifted the carton in a tiny salute. Then I shut my locker and left. The damage was ugly, funny, and dangerous. Brielle had said the girls made her feel weird, pulled me away in public, then followed me to the roof and got caught doing the exact thing she used to mock. I thought being exposed would make her back off. Wrong. After that day, every girl who smiled at me became a scoreboard. Brielle pretended she could not read. And the next problem already had a clean smile, better grades, and the whole school ready to call him an upgrade. His name was Spencer Merritt. The roof incident should have made Brielle Sawyer avoid me. For one whole morning, she tried. She walked into homeroom with Zoe Phelps beside her and did the smooth window stare act again. She brought no sleeve grab, sharp question, or chocolate milk apology hiding in my locker. Very disciplined. Also fake enough to need a warning label. The gossip table kept glancing from her to me like they were waiting for round 2. Zoe saw the room watching and leaned toward Brielle. Zoe whispered, "Roof privileges got revoked?" Brielle said, "Zoe, breathe quieter." I opened my notebook. The no chase rule had survived 1 jealous grab and 1 rooftop spy comedy. That mattered. If I sprinted after Brielle because she blushed near a trash can, I deserved every joke Ridgemont ever made about me, so I stayed seated. Then Mr. Fallon taped the exam rank sheet beside the board. 1 sheet, 2 columns. My name in the ugly middle. Last month, I had been near the top because studying gave me one more excuse to help Brielle. This month, my name sat below people who believed homework was a rumor. Even the paper looked disappointed. Zoe turned around in her chair. "Connor," Zoe said, too loudly. "Did the volleyball hit your study habits too?" I looked at the sheet. It hit customer service first. The class laughed. Brielle did not. Her eyes moved from my name to my face, then to my hair. I had left home late, skipped the mirror, and let my bangs die however they wanted. A girl near the window whispered, "He looks kind of rough." The gossip table boy whispered back, "Post-Simp shedding phase." I turned my head. "You are 1 phrase away from detention by citizen vote." He shut up. "Good boy." "Barely." Mr. Fallon cleared his throat and pointed at the board. "Connor," Mr. Fallon said, "since the rank sheet has everyone staring anyway, solve the warm-up." "Fantastic. Public academic funeral with chalk." I stood and took the marker. The problem was simple. My brain still moved slower than my hand. I wrote the first line right, skipped a sign, and heard Mr. Fallon inhale through his nose. Brielle saw the mistake before he spoke. Her hand lifted off her desk like she wanted to point it out. Then she stopped herself. Spencer did not stop. "Sign error," Spencer said, helpful enough to be annoying. I corrected it. Mr. Fallon nodded. "There, still alive." The class chuckled. Spencer smiled at Brielle. "I can help with tour prep and math review if you want. Some people are overbooked." Brielle's eyes stayed on the corrected line. I did not ask, Brielle said. Small line, sharp edge. Spencer's smile held, but barely. I capped the marker and sat down. My rank had dropped. My hair looked criminal. Spencer had found the perfect little stage. Anyone in that room could make the same prediction. Brielle would choose the stable guy and let my messy exit finish itself. That prediction bothered me because it made sense. Then Brielle's eraser rolled off her desk. My hand stayed still. Spencer picked it up before it reached the aisle and placed it neatly beside her notebook. The room waited for the cute thank you. Brielle only stared at the eraser like it had switched teams. Spencer's perfect save got no smile. That tiny loss fed me for the rest of the period. Petty fuel, premium grade. The classroom door opened before the bell. Spencer Merritt walked in carrying a stack of visitor tour forms like he had been born beside a trophy case. Spencer was a popular athlete, a top student, and the kind of guy teachers trusted near microphones. He also had the smooth smile of someone who had never been publicly compared to a lost dog. He stopped by Mr. Fallon's desk. Mr. Fallon, Spencer said. Student council needs junior guides for the visitor tour. I can collect names. Mr. Fallon waved a hand. Make it quick. That was all the authority did. The rest was pure teenage blood sport. Spencer turned to the class and smiled. Brielle already said she would help, Spencer said. We need steady people beside her, since visitors follow whoever looks calm. Several heads turned toward Brielle. Brielle's face stayed polite. My stomach did one stupid drop. Spencer looked straight at me. Connor, Spencer said, you probably want a break from hovering duty, right? The room made the tiny sound people make when a chair almost tips. There it was. Clean smile. Dirty knife. Spencer held up the tour sheet. I can take the spot near Brielle, less confusing for everyone. The class stared at me. Zoe stared harder. Brielle's fingers tightened around her pencil. Old Connor would have argued. Back then, I would have listed every time I carried Brielle's books, remembered her drink, saved her seat, and got rewarded with public side-eye. That version of me was a worker ant with feelings. I picked up my pen. Sure, I said. Spencer blinked. That was the first crack. I kept writing. If Brielle wants you there, stand there. The crack widened. Spencer recovered fast. Good. Glad you were being reasonable. Careful, I said. That word sounds allergic to you. Zoe choked. The gossip table lost structural integrity. Spencer's smile thinned. Brielle looked at me then, finally. Her expression asked why I had given up the space so easily. I almost answered with the obvious, because she had spent years calling that space annoying. I kept my mouth shut. She had to feel the empty chair before I explained the furniture. A girl by the back wall raised her hand with fake innocence. So, Spencer and Brielle are a pair now? The girl asked. Spencer answered too fast. For the tour. Zoe smiled. That sounded rehearsed. Brielle's face cooled. It is a school tour. I looked at my paper. Congratulations to the school. The room laughed before it knew whether it should. Spencer stared at me like I had scratched his trophy. The sheet passed around after first period. Spencer wrote his name beside Brielle's before the paper reached my row. He did it slowly, with the confidence of a guy placing a flag on land he had already claimed. Zoe saw the name pairing and gave a low whistle. Wow, Zoe said. Upgrade package installed, Brielle snapped. Zoe! Zoe looked at me. Connor, thoughts? I took the sheet from the girl in front of me. My pen hovered over the empty helper line near the bottom. Looks efficient, I said. Zoe's smile vanished. That is coward talk wearing a tie. Brielle flinched at that. I wrote my name on the general helper line away from Brielle's pair. Spencer leaned over the aisle. Background support suits you. Too bad for him. I was tired and caffeinated. Spencer, I said, if standing beside a girl is your big flex, bring stronger ankles. The class laughed louder. Spencer's jaw clicked. Brielle's lips parted, then closed. She said nothing. That silence hit worse than Spencer's little speech. I handed the sheet back and left for the hallway. Zoe caught me by the vending machines after second period. Brielle was with her, pretending she had no part in the chase. Spectacular acting. Community theater level but with better hair. Zoe planted herself in front of me. Connor, Zoe said, are you really letting Spencer take the tour spot? I said, he took a form, relax. Zoe pointed at my face. He took your place beside Brielle and gift-wrapped it. Brielle said, Zoe, stop making everything dramatic. Zoe turned on her. Brielle, he called Connor hovering duty. Brielle looked away. I smiled once. There it is, I said. Brielle's eyes snapped back. There what? The part where it only sounds cruel when someone else says it. Zoe went quiet. Brielle stared at me like I had grabbed the wrong wire and somehow made the lights flicker. Then her gaze moved to my hair again. Your hair is messy, Brielle said. Brilliant subject change. Elite retreat. Still obvious. I touched my bangs. They formed a union. Zoe muttered, weak union. Brielle stepped closer. I should have moved back. I did not. She reached up and pushed my bangs away from my eyes with 2 fingers. The motion was small. Hallway reaction was not. The vending machine girl turned her whole body. 2 freshmen stopped pretending to choose chips. Brielle's fingers froze in my hair. She realized the audience a second late. I said, "Careful, customer service is closed, but maintenance looks open." Zoe made a strangled sound. Brielle dropped her hand. Her face went pink. "Do it yourself then," Brielle said. "I usually do," I said. I slipped. That was true in more ways than I wanted. Her eyes softened for half a beat. Spencer arrived behind her at the perfect terrible moment. Of course he did. Guys like Spencer can smell unclaimed attention from across a hallway. He stopped with the tour sheet tucked under his arm. "Brielle," Spencer said, "we should check the route after school. Visitors like structure." He looked at my hair, then her hand, then my face. His smile returned. "Unless I interrupted grooming," Spencer said. The freshman made the mistake of laughing. Brielle's face shut down. I stepped aside. "Check the route," I said. "I have background support." Zoe looked at me like she wanted to throw a vending machine. Brielle's hand lifted an inch, then stopped. That half move almost broke me. Almost. Spencer placed himself beside her. "Come on," Spencer said to Brielle. "I will walk you." Brielle did not move right away. The hallway watched the clean replacement offer land exactly where Spencer wanted it. Handsome guy, good grades, athlete, student council friendly, 0 public simp history. On paper, he was the obvious choice, so I made the paper hurt. I turned and walked away first. Behind me, Zoe hissed, "Connor Byrne, you are aggressively stupid." I did not turn around. Brielle's voice followed, quiet and sharp. "Zoe, stop!" Spencer said something too low for me to catch. Brielle did not laugh. That was the only reward I let myself keep. After school, I found my name on the visitor tour board near the side tasks. Spencer and Brielle were listed together near the top. Someone had drawn a tiny crown beside Spencer's name in pencil. Ridgemont was subtle, like a marching band in a library. The gossip table boy passed behind me and said, "Dude, Spencer really replaced you." I looked at him. He swallowed. Publicly, in an academic sense, I erased the crown with my thumb. "Better," I said. He fled. Then Brielle appeared at the end of the hall. Spencer stood beside her, talking with both hands. She watched me instead of him. Our eyes met. For 1 second, I thought she might walk over. Spencer touched the tour sheet and said, "Brielle, this way." Brielle looked at him. Then she followed. The sight hit clean and ugly. I had asked for distance. Distance had arrived wearing Spencer Merritt's smile. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with the rank sheet folded in my bag and my hair still falling wrong. Marley passed behind me, took one look, and snorted. Marley said, "You look like a sad mop joined debate club." I said, "Love you too." Marley leaned on the chair. "Did Brielle see?" I paused. Marley grinned. "She did, idiot." I opened my textbook. Marley softened her voice by half an inch. "Are you okay?" "No," I said. "I am doing the right thing anyway." Marley pushed a granola bar across the table. "Gross," Marley said. "Character development with snacks." The next morning, Spencer stood by Brielle's desk before homeroom, already holding the visitor tour sheet like a certificate of ownership. He smiled when I walked in. Brielle's eyes moved to my hair. I had fixed it myself. Her hand twitched against her desk. Spencer saw that twitch. His smile died for 1 tiny second. Good. The replacement boy had claimed the space. Now Brielle had to decide whether she wanted a clean partner beside her or the messy boy she kept reaching for after telling him to go away. I thought Spencer would be the main problem. Then the rain came, and standing beside Brielle turned into something dirtier than a tour sheet. Spencer Merritt spent the next 2 days acting like he had inherited a seat beside Brielle Sawyer. He walked with her after class, carried the visitor tour sheet, and laughed near her desk like the room needed a rehearsal husband. Brielle never told him to leave. That was the part everyone saw. The part I saw was smaller. Her eyes still checked the door when I came in. Brielle's fingers still paused when I passed. Her mouth still tightened whenever Zoe Phelps looked too entertained. Zoe noticed too. Zoe said at lunch, "Brielle? Spencer has said route efficiency 4 times. Blink twice if you need rescue." Brielle said, "I am fine." Spencer smiled. "Zoe, some of us take responsibility seriously." Zoe looked at me across the commons. "Connor, did you hear that? Responsibility has cologne now." I lifted my milk carton in salute. Brielle looked at the carton, then away. The rain started right after final bell. Richmont's front drive turned into gray water and bad decisions. Students crowded under the overhang. Spencer stood beside Brielle with a clean umbrella and a cleaner smile. I stood 10 feet away, hood up, bag soaked, minding my retired business. A car rolled too fast through the pickup lane. The puddle beside Brielle rose like a dirty wall. Spencer saw it. He stepped back. Tiny movement. Huge confession. I moved before I thought. I crossed the gap, grabbed Brielle by the shoulder, and turned her behind me. The water hit my hoodie, my pants, my shoes, and whatever dignity I had left. Cold mud splashed up my chest. The overhang went silent. Brielle stared at me. Spencer held his umbrella over his own dry hair. Zoe said, "What?" A freshman whispered. That was gross and romantic. I looked down at my ruined hoodie. Mostly gross, I said. Brielle's hand grabbed my sleeve. Connor, you are soaked. Strong observation. You idiot, Brielle said, but her voice cracked at the edge. Spencer stepped forward too late. I was going to move her. Zoe turned slowly toward him. After the puddle finished attacking? Zoe asked. A few students laughed. Spencer's smile took damage. Brielle pulled a handkerchief from her bag and pressed it against my sleeve like that would solve the entire weather system. The cloth was pale blue and folded too neatly for my disaster body. Keep it, Brielle said. I looked at her hand. Brielle, I said, it is mud water. Her eyes snapped up. Keep it. So I did. I kept it because she gave it without making me perform for the crowd, and her fingers trembled when I took it. One emotional line, then punishment. I sneezed so hard, Zoe flinched. Zoe pointed at me. He is dying. Beautifully, but dying. The next morning, I woke up with a fever and the personality of boiled lettuce. I skipped school. No nurse montage. No tragic blanket opera. My body filed one complaint, and I lost. By mid-afternoon, Marley opened my bedroom door with her foot. Marley said, "Your fan club is downstairs." I squinted. My what? Marley leaned in. Brielle Sawyer brought notes. Zoe brought chaos. Mom is pretending this is normal and failing. I sat up too fast and regretted every organ. Brielle appeared behind Marley with a folder against her chest. Zoe stood behind Brielle, holding a plastic bag and wearing the grin of someone watching a train choose drama. Brielle saw my fever face. Her expression changed before she could hide it. Then she recovered and scowled. Connor, Brielle said, you look terrible. Nice to see you too. Marley walked in and dropped a granola bar on my desk. He looks like this often. The fever adds shine. Zoe nodded. Haunted Mop, Premium Edition. Brielle stepped closer. She placed the folder on my desk. Mr. Fallon sent work, Brielle said. I copied the board notes. Zoe coughed into her hand. By copied, she means rewrote them twice because the first version looked too rushed. Brielle shot Zoe a look. Zoe zipped her mouth with invisible fingers. I reached for the folder. Brielle grabbed it first. No, Brielle said, you are going to spill something or pass out. I will put it here. Marley looked at me over Brielle's shoulder and mouthed, she is bossy. I mouthed back. I know. Brielle noticed us. What? Family illness ritual, Marley said. Brielle placed a bottle of water on my nightstand. I looked at it, then at her. You walked here in the rain? I asked. Brielle's chin lifted. Zoe had an umbrella. Zoe raised the bag. I had snacks, different hero path. I almost smiled. Brielle saw it and looked down. Then her gaze caught the blue handkerchief drying on my desk chair. She froze. I said, it survived. Brielle's voice went quieter. Good. Marley looked between us and slowly backed toward the door. Nope, Marley said. I am allergic to whatever this is. Zoe followed her. Same, very dangerous air quality. Brielle turned. Zoe. Zoe pointed at the folder. You delivered notes, community service complete. Then Zoe and Marley left us alone with the loudest silence in suburban history. Brielle stood beside my desk. I stayed against the pillow because my bones had become pudding. Why did you step in front of the water? Brielle asked. I looked at her. Because it was going to hit you. That is your whole answer? Her fingers curled around the folder edge. You do things like that, Brielle said. Then you act like you were gone. The fever made me honest and rude. I can protect you without begging for permission to stand near you. Brielle's eyes flashed. Then she looked away. Rest, Brielle said. She left before I could ruin the moment with a joke. At the door, Brielle paused. Connor, Brielle said, the handkerchief was clean when I gave it to you. I looked at the ruined cloth on the chair. That sounds like a complaint for the puddle. Her mouth twitched, then flattened. Wash it before you give it back, Brielle said. Bossy even during charity. Brielle's hand tightened on the doorframe. I am serious. I know. She left. The next day, I brought the handkerchief folded in a plastic bag. I meant to return it quietly before class, because apparently I enjoyed setting traps for myself. Brielle stood by the lockers with Spencer and Zoe. Spencer noticed the bag first. Laundry delivery? Spencer asked. Zoe's eyes went nuclear. I held the bag out to Brielle. Clean, mostly emotionally damaged. Brielle reached for it. Spencer said, You kept that? Brielle stopped. The hallway heard the question and immediately pretended to organize itself. I looked at Spencer. She told me to. Spencer laughed once. You still take orders well. Brielle's hand closed over the bag before I could answer. Spencer, Brielle said, drop it. That line did more than defend me. It claimed the handkerchief as hers to handle. Spencer stepped back with a polite smile and dead eyes. The fever broke by the next morning. Ridgemont did not let me return quietly. By second period, everyone knew Brielle had visited my house. The gossip table called it medical romance. Zoe called it community theater with mucus. Spencer called it nothing, which told me he hated it. By the time I reached homeroom, 3 versions of the handkerchief scene existed. One said Brielle had given me a lucky charm. Another said I stole it, which felt rude to both of us. The worst version claimed Spencer had loaned me his umbrella after I saved her. I found the gossip table boy near the door. Spencer did what? I asked. He paled. I am only a distributor. Distribute better. He nodded like I had threatened his bloodline. Spencer heard enough to know the rumor had failed upward without him. Then Priscilla Kent entered homeroom like she had rented the oxygen. Priscilla was a senior with campaign posters in her hands and a smile sharpened for hallways. She was chasing student council support under Griff Branson, the polished student council president, and she wanted pretty faces attached to her name. She went straight to Brielle's desk. Brielle, Priscilla said, you would be perfect for my campaign table. Everyone listens when you smile. Brielle blinked. I have not agreed to anything. Priscilla laughed like refusal was a cute typo. It is simple, Priscilla said. Stand beside the display after lunch. We take a few photos. You do not even need to talk much. Zoe's smile disappeared. Spencer, standing near the window, watched carefully. I stayed in my seat. Priscilla's eyes found me. Oh, Priscilla said, and there is Connor, Brielle's retired mascot. The room reacted, a sharp, hungry quiet. Priscilla mistook it for control. She smiled wider. Clown behavior. Full parade. Relax, Priscilla said to me. You can hold the poster if you miss being useful. Brielle stood. Priscilla, stop. That should have warned her. Priscilla waved one hand. I am teasing. Everyone knows Connor followed you because you are popular. Let that popularity help someone with an actual plan. There was the overreach. I stood. Mr. Fallon looked at me from his desk, but said nothing. Good man. Witness mode only. I walked to Brielle's desk and took one of Priscilla's posters from the stack. Priscilla smirked. See? He can help. I looked at the poster. It had Priscilla's name, a slogan, and a blank space where Brielle's face was supposed to sell the lie. I handed it back. No, I said. Priscilla's smile slipped. No? No, I said again. You do not want Brielle's help. You want her face near your poster so people think you matter more. The class went still. Priscilla's cheeks colored. Excuse me? Pointed at the poster. You just told her to stand there and stay pretty? Zoe's eyes widened. Spencer stopped leaning against the window. Brielle stared at me. I kept my voice flat. Brielle works harder than half this room sees. She handles class, volleyball, your little popularity circus, and every person who thinks her attention is public property. If she backs you, it should be because she believes you. You do not get to rent her like a banner. The room did that rare thing. It listened. Priscilla opened her mouth. No words came out. Brady Hume had folded in the cafeteria. Priscilla folded with better eyeliner. Zoe whispered, "Cooked!" Brielle's face turned red from her ears down. She grabbed her bag. Brielle, Priscilla said, suddenly softer. I did not mean it like that. Brielle did not look at her. Brielle looked at me instead. For 1 second, there was no Spencer, no posters, no rumor table, no roof trash can, no handkerchief drying on my chair. Then pride kicked the door open. Brielle muttered, "Idiot." She ran out of the room. Zoe took 1 step after her, then stopped beside my desk. Zoe said, "That was either heroic or socially fatal." "Can it be both?" I asked. "Usually with you." Spencer picked up the fallen poster from the floor. His smile was thin enough to cut paper. "Nice performance," Spencer said. I looked at him. "Yours needs work." The gossip table erupted. Mr. Fallon tapped the board once. "Class, breathe and pretend we are normal." No one pretended well. Priscilla gathered her posters with shaking hands. She did not ask Brielle again. The consequence came faster. At lunch, students who used to call me Brielle's shadow started asking if I could help with actual problems. One boy wanted math notes. A girl asked if I could explain what Priscilla had done wrong without using the word cooked. The rumor table looked at me like I had grown a spine on school property. Spencer saw all of it. Brielle saw enough from the far table before leaving early with Zoe. The old compliments had annoyed her because I gave them away for free. This one cost Priscilla the room. By the end of the day, the posters were gone from Brielle's locker. The blue handkerchief stayed folded in my bag. Spencer stopped smiling when I passed, and the next girl who came for me did not ask for romance, pity, or a tour spot. She came with an ugly orange lanyard and the terrifying posture of someone who had already decided I was useful. Taryn McCoy found me in the Commons the next day. That was already a problem. Taryn was the honor committee president, a senior with perfect posture and the calm voice of someone who alphabetized panic. People moved when she walked by. Teachers trusted her with clipboards. Students feared her because she remembered deadlines like personal insults. She stopped at my table with Willa Rhodes beside her. Willa was a quiet honor committee girl from the junior hallway. She held 3 folders against her chest and looked like the folders were protecting her from society. Brielle sat 2 tables away with Zoe. Spencer sat beside Brielle because he had apparently subscribed to proximity. Taryn placed an orange volunteer lanyard on my tray. It sat beside my fries like a warning from a construction site. "Connor Byrne," Taryn said, "we need you for visitor tour support." I looked at the lanyard. "Did I lose a bet?" I asked. Willa made a tiny sound. It might have been a laugh trying to escape a hostage situation. Taryn did not blink. "Priscilla tried to recruit faces," Taryn said. "You notice the problem faster than the adults. I need people who notice problems before a visitor walks into them." Across the cafeteria, Zoe's head turned. Then Brielle's head turned. The lanyard had done its job before I touched it. Ridiculous object. Immediate damage. Spencer leaned back in his chair and called across the space. "Connor," Spencer said. "Background support again?" His tone was sweet enough to rot teeth. Taryn turned to him. "Spencer," Taryn said, "background support is where disasters get prevented. Front-facing charm is where they usually start." The Commons made the sound of 20 people pretending to cough. Spencer's face tightened. He had walked into that one wearing dress shoes. Taryn picked up the lanyard and held it out. "Connor," Taryn said, "yes or no?" The rules stayed simple. I refused anything that turned me back into Brielle's unpaid shadow. I accepted work that had human stakes and did not require begging for crumbs. So I took the lanyard. The orange strap scratched my neck. Zoe yelled from Brielle's table, "That color is a felony." I looked down. "Agreed." Willa's shoulders loosened. Then she stepped forward too fast, caught my hand with both of hers, and froze like her body had betrayed her. "Thank you," Willa said. "Sorry. Thank you. I should let go." She let go so fast my fingers actually felt wind. The gossip table saw it. Brielle saw it. Spencer definitely saw it. Zoe's mouth opened in delighted horror. Willa turned pink. "I am sorry," said. "You survived. Strong start." Taryn nodded at Willa. "She asked for you specifically after the poster scene," Willa whispered. "Taryn." Taryn ignored her. Willa saw Priscilla corner a sophomore last month and wanted someone who could say no out loud. The cafeteria stopped treating the lanyard like a joke. Priscilla had lost more than one poster scene. She had lost quiet people who had been waiting for someone rude enough to name the game. Brielle's eyes moved from Willa's embarrassed hands to the lanyard around my neck. Spencer said nothing. Good. The lanyard had teeth. The first task should have been boring. Taryn proved she had taste. She walked me straight into the school auditorium, where 3 freshman helpers were arguing beside a cart of bottled water. One had stacked boxes in front of the side door. Another had spilled water across the aisle. The third kept saying, "Taryn said labels," like labels had become a religion. Willa stepped forward. "The side door has to stay clear." The loudest freshman cut her off. "Taryn brought him, not you." Willa folded behind the folders. Taryn stopped beside me. "Fix that," Taryn said. "The boxes or the attitude?" I asked. "Yes," Taryn said. I walked to the freshman. The loudest one said, "Who put you in charge?" I tugged the orange lanyard. "Bad fashion," I said. "Move the boxes before someone trips and turns the tour into a lawsuit-shaped rumor." He frowned. "You cannot tell us what to do." I pointed at the wet aisle. "Then stand there when a parent slips. Smile for the group chat." The freshman looked at the water, then at the blocked door. He moved. The others moved too. No speech. No committee meeting, just a problem, a lanyard, and 3 kids choosing survival. Taryn watched from the aisle. "Useful," Taryn said. "Ugly," I said, touching the strap. "Both," Willa said, then looked terrified that she had spoken. I nodded. "Accurate." The lanyard kept creating small disasters. In the hall, a freshman girl asked if I could walk her to the auditorium because the visitor doors all looked the same. Willa tried to answer, got talked over by 2 taller boys, and went still with the folders against her chest. I stepped between them. "Let Willa finish," I said. One boy smirked. "We were not talking to you." "Good," I said. "Your conversation quality was low." Willa blinked. The freshman girl hid a laugh. The boy's face colored, but he backed up. Willa gave the directions in one clean breath, then looked at me like she had surprised herself. Brielle saw that from the stairwell. So did Spencer. The day kept handing him reasons to hate orange fabric. By final bell, the orange lanyard had become a school object. People pointed at it. Zoe called it my caution tape era. The gossip table boy asked if I directed traffic now. I told him he looked illegally parked. Brielle passed me near the east stairwell. Her eyes dropped to the lanyard. "Busy?" Brielle asked. "Apparently." "Taryn trusts you?" "Bad judgment happens to seniors too." Brielle almost smiled. Then Spencer appeared behind her with his visitor tour sheet. "Brielle," Spencer said, "we should go over the route." Her almost smile vanished. I stepped aside. The no chase rule stayed alive. Brielle walked with Spencer, but she looked back once. That look followed me all the way home. Marley found the lanyard on the kitchen counter and held it up with 2 fingers. Marley said, "Why do you own a tiny roadwork necklace?" I took it from her. "School responsibility," Marley gasped. "My condolences." My mother, Mrs. Byrne, looked over from the sink. "It is nice that people need you." Marley pointed at me. "Do not encourage him. He will start wearing pants with pockets for forms." I threw a napkin at her. That should have been the peak of my outside value era. Summer break made it worse. Harbor Light Books needed extra hands for the beach crowd, and the bookstore owners, Mr. Halpern and Mrs. Halpern, cared more about showing up on time than sounding impressive. Mrs. Halpern put me behind the front counter, handed me a stack of bookmarks, and said the only rule that mattered. Mrs. Halpern said, "If a child looks lost, do not wait for an adult to prove it." That rule paid 2 hours later. A little boy backed into the alley beside Harbor Light Books with 3 older boys crowding him. He was maybe 8, clutching a paperback to his chest like a shield. One older boy said, "Give it back, Milo, you did not even pay for it." The kid said, "My sister did." The older boy shoved his shoulder. I stepped into the alley. "Hey," I said. The 3 boys turned. The tallest one looked me up and down. "Store guy, temporary menace," I said. He snorted, "This is none of your business." Milo is beside my store with 3 idiots blocking him. Business hours expanded. Milo looked at me with wet eyes. The older boy held up the paperback. "He stole it." I pointed at the receipt sticking out of the back cover. "That white paper with numbers on it is going to ruin your villain arc." The boy looked. His friends looked. Milo sniffed. The tall boy tossed the book at Milo's chest. "Whatever," stepped closer before they could leave clean. "Apologize," I said. The tall boy laughed. "To him?" I smiled. "You can do it now, or I can walk you inside and let Mrs. Halpern explain manners loud enough for the beach crowd." The friend on the left muttered, "Dude, just say it." Beautiful. Peer pressure had switched teams. The tall boy glared at Milo. "Sorry," he said. Milo hugged the book tighter. "I moved aside. The boys left fast, which was generous of them because their confidence had died in public and needed privacy." Milo stared at me. I said, "You okay?" Milo nodded. "My sister is going to be mad." "At them?" "At me for wandering." "Smart sister." Milo winced. Then a girl ran around the corner so fast her sandals slapped the pavement. "Milo!" she shouted. She grabbed him by both shoulders and checked his face like she was counting pieces. She had wind-blown hair, a beach toad on one arm, and the expression of someone ready to fight 3 boys in a weather pattern. Milo pointed at me. "Phoebe," Milo said. "The store guy saved my book." So that was her name. Phoebe looked at me. Her anger shifted into relief so quickly it almost knocked her over. "Thank you," Phoebe said. "Seriously, thank you." "It was mostly receipt-based combat," I said. Milo laughed. Inside the store, Milo refused to let go of my sleeve until Phoebe promised she would stay near the front counter. Mrs. Halpern watched him clutch me and nodded once. "That," Mrs. Halpern said, "is why I told you not to wait." Mr. Halpern looked over his glasses. "And why the alley door stays propped open from now on?" I said, "Good." I was running out of heroic receipt material. Milo whispered to Phoebe, "Can Connor help us find the next dragon book?" Phoebe looked at me with a question in her eyes, not a demand. That felt different from being summoned, grabbed, or used as proof. Phoebe looked at the paperback, then at the alley, then back at me. "I am Phoebe Darrow," she said. "We come here from Lakeview Beach every summer." Milo wanders when he sees book covers with dragons. "It is a family curse." Milo said, "Dragons are important." "Clearly," I said. Phoebe reached into her beach tote and pulled out a folded scarf with cartoon sharks all over it. I stared at it. Phoebe held it out. "Milo picked this at the beach stand earlier and refused to wear it." "Take it as a thank you before I throw it into the ocean." Milo gasped. "Phoebe!" Phoebe smiled at him. "Consequences!" I took the scarf because rejecting a child's shark tribute would have made me lose to a worse version of myself. The scarf was ridiculous. Blue sharks, yellow teeth, one shark had sunglasses. Milo said, "It makes you look brave." I wrapped it around my neck. "It makes me look like aquarium security," I said. Milo laughed so hard he bent over. Phoebe smiled at me longer than necessary, then caught herself and looked at Milo. "We should go," Phoebe said. "Milo, say thank you properly." Milo saluted me with the paperback. "Thank you, store guy," Milo said. "Connor," I said. Phoebe repeated it. "Connor. I hope we see you again." That sentence was too warm for a normal thank you. By closing time, Mrs. Halpern had heard the story, Mr. Halpern had called the shark scarf memorable, and Mrs. Byrne had reported my terrible new fashion choice to Marley. Marley texted back, "Are you dating an aquarium?" I replied. "The aquarium treats me with respect." Then my phone lit up with a message from Zoe. Zoe texted, "Brielle saw Taryn give you the lanyard. She asked why Willa grabbed your hand." I stared at the screen. Another message arrived. Zoe texted. Also, if you own shark clothing now, hide it badly, for science. I put the phone face down. The lanyard had told Brielle that useful girls at school needed me. The scarf proved someone outside Ridgemont could thank me without acting embarrassed by my existence. That felt good, a little too good. The next morning, I folded the shark scarf into my bag instead of throwing it away. Bad call. I told myself it was proof I helped someone. That excuse survived exactly until Brielle saw the cartoon teeth. That ridiculous scarf should have stayed a private joke between a rescued kid, his sister, and one tired bookstore employee. By Lakeview Beach, it became the first object Brielle wanted to hate before she even knew why. The shark scarf betrayed me before Lakeview Beach did. I thought I had buried it in my bag. One cartoon fin stuck out during lunch like it had a personal grudge against peace. Zoe Phelps saw it first. Zoe leaned across Brielle Sawyer's table and pointed with her fork. Connor Byrne, explain the marine crime in your backpack. Brielle looked over. Her eyes found the blue fabric, the yellow shark teeth, and the stupid sunglasses on one shark's face. I pushed the scarf deeper into my bag. Evidence of a rescue, I said. Zoe's grin widened. A girl rescue? Milo rescue, I said. 8 years old, dragon book involved, very serious. Brielle's mouth moved before her pride stopped it. Who gave you the scarf? I looked at her. She looked back like she had asked about homework. His sister, I said. Zoe made a tiny choking sound. Brielle's fingers tightened around her cup. Spencer Merritt, still sitting beside her like a sponsored replacement, smiled at the scarf. Cute! The bookstore has fan merch now? I said. Careful, Spencer. Milo has better taste than your tour speeches. The gossip table laughed. Spencer's smile flattened. Brielle looked at the bag again, then away. The scarf should have stayed a private, thank you. Ridgemont turned it into a weather system before 6th period. Brielle caught me near the east stairwell after lunch. Zoe trailed behind her with the face of a person carrying gasoline and waiting for permission. Brielle pointed at my bag. His sister has a name? I stopped. The shark has sunglasses. Ask better questions, Zoe whispered. I vote we start with the sister. Brielle ignored her. Connor, Phoebe Darrow, I said. Milo's older sister. She thanked me because her brother got cornered outside Harbor Light. Brielle's eyes narrowed. With a scarf? People express gratitude poorly under stress. Zoe leaned closer. I once gave Brielle a stress muffin, Brielle said. It had salt in it. It was emotional salt. I started around them. Brielle stepped into my path before she could pretend she meant to. The stairwell traffic slowed. 2 freshmen suddenly needed water from a fountain with no water bottle in sight. Brielle noticed the witnesses and hated all of us. I only asked, Brielle said. No, I said. You inspected. Her face warmed. I lowered my voice. Phoebe thanked me. That is allowed. Brielle looked at the floor, then back at me. I never said it was forbidden. Your face filed paperwork. Zoe made a sound like she had been stabbed by joy. Brielle moved aside. I passed before the old me could turn that tiny opening into a full confession he had no right to demand. By final bell, Zoe had named it my shark era. The gossip table boy asked if Phoebe Darrow was my beach girlfriend. I told him one more sentence would get him fed to the scarf. He folded. Finally, growth. Phoebe saw the scarf again 2 days later at Harbor Light Books. She walked in with Milo, the kid I had pulled away from 3 older boys, and stopped so suddenly Milo bumped her hip. Phoebe pointed at my bag behind the counter. You kept it? Milo lit up. Connor wears the sharks? Only when I need to scare hardcover fiction? I said. Phoebe laughed, then looked pleased enough to make my stomach act dumb. That was the problem with sincere people. They handed you a ridiculous scarf, and suddenly the world looked less hostile for 5 seconds. Mrs. Halpern, the bookstore owner's wife, passed behind me with a stack of returns and said, Connor, take your break before you start threatening the cookbooks again. Milo grabbed my sleeve. Phoebe can show you Shelwa Craft Shop. They have shark bracelets too. Phoebe smacked his shoulder lightly. Milo, I said, no more sharks. I have suffered enough. Milo looked betrayed. Phoebe tilted her head. Shellwalk has other things. Shell charms, glass beads, little beach pieces. People buy them for gifts. The word gift punched a hole in my excuse wall. Brielle still had not gotten anything from me except distance, a washed handkerchief, and public embarrassment. The old me would have bought her something loud and begged her to notice. The new me had no business shopping for her at all, which meant, naturally, I thought about it for the rest of my shift like a certified idiot. After closing, Phoebe waited near the door with Milo and her beach tote. Phoebe said, You look like someone remembering a birthday. Worse, I said. A thank you. For Brielle? Phoebe asked. Her voice stayed gentle. She left the weak spot alone. I hated how easy that made honesty. For the handkerchief, I said. And the notes when I was sick, and maybe because I need one clean ending that does not involve me hovering by a locker. Phoebe looked at me for a second. Milo whispered. Is Brielle your girlfriend? No, I said. Phoebe's eyes softened. Then what is she? I looked toward the front window, where the beach crowd moved past with bags and sunburns. The girl I am trying not to chase, I said. Milo frowned. That sounds hard. Kid, I said, you have no idea. Phoebe stayed gentle. That made it worse. She only nodded toward the boardwalk. Shell Walk is 5 minutes away. If you buy something lazy, I will judge you. So I followed her. I followed because the gift needed help, and Phoebe knew the shop. That was my official explanation. My unofficial explanation had more panic and less dignity. Shellwalk Craft Shop sat off the boardwalk with wind chimes in the door and shells hanging in little glass cases. The shop smelled like salt, glue, and vacation money. The shop owner behind the counter looked at Phoebe, then at Milo, then at me wearing the shark scarf Milo had forced back around my neck. The shop owner said, "Bookstore hero?" Milo puffed up like he had personally invented me. "He saved my dragon book." Phoebe covered her face. "I told the shop owner, I am being overmarketed." The shop owner laughed and lifted a small camera from the counter. "Then stand by the wall, we do customer photos." I stepped back. "Absolutely not." Milo grabbed my elbow. "Do it," Phoebe said. "Milo, do not bully him." Milo looked at me with wounded eyes. "I lost to an 8-year-old and a shark scarf." The shop owner snapped the photo while Phoebe stood beside me pointing at the charm trays. Milo held up his dragon book below us like a court witness. The instant photo slid out. The shop owner wrote under it with a marker, "Bookstore hero and his beach guide." I stared at the caption. Phoebe's cheeks turned pink. Milo said, "That sounds cool." "It sounds like a lawsuit against my peace," I said. The shop owner taped it to the wall near the counter. "Great! Permanent evidence of me looking awkward beside a pretty girl wearing aquarium warfare around my neck." Somewhere, fate cracked its knuckles. Phoebe guided me away from the shark bracelets before Milo could commit another crime. The shell charm I chose was small, a pale shell, a blue bead, and a plain silver clasp. It looked usable, quiet, and safely below old Connor returning to service levels. Phoebe picked it up and turned it in her palm. "This one?" she asked. "It looks like something she might actually use," I said. Phoebe watched me, then smiled a little. "You thought about that fast. Terrible habit. Good habit," Phoebe said. I paid before she could make the sentence warmer. The charm came in a tiny paper pouch. I tucked it into my bag behind the scarf. That should have been the whole scene. Buy the gift, hide the gift, go home, simple. Then Lakeview Beach decided I looked too relaxed. Phoebe asked me to walk with her and Milo to the water before I caught the bus. Milo wanted shaved ice. Phoebe promised him one if he stayed where she could see him. Milo saluted like a tiny soldier with sugar goals. I followed them to the boardwalk. Halfway down, I saw Zoe's ponytail near the beach steps. Then, I saw Brielle. She stood beside Zoe in a loose white beach shirt, her hair tied back, one hand shielding her eyes from the sun. A little girl in a yellow sun hat ran circles near their feet, throwing sand at waves like she had declared war on water. My first instinct was to turn around. My second instinct was worse. I wanted Brielle to see the scarf, Phoebe, the charm pouch, and my calm face, all in one clean explosion. That was ugly, so I stopped moving. Phoebe noticed. "Connor? Richmond sighting?" I said. Phoebe followed my gaze. She saw Brielle. Phoebe's face stayed careful. "Do you want to leave?" she asked. I did. I also did not want to look like I was fleeing because Brielle existed near sand. "No," I said. "Milo earned shaved ice." Milo raised both fists. "Correct. We moved along the boardwalk." The little girl in the yellow hat pointed toward us. For one awful second, her finger lined up perfectly with my shark scarf. Zoe saw her point. Zoe looked. Her eyes met mine across the boardwalk. Then Zoe grabbed the little girl by both shoulders and spun her toward the water. Zoe was many things. Subtle was dead and buried. Brielle started to turn. A crowd of beach kids ran between us with inflatable tubes blocking the view. By the time the path cleared, Phoebe had pulled Milo toward the shaved ice stand, and I had become a coward with good footwork. I did not know whether Brielle saw me. I knew Zoe did. My phone buzzed before I reached the bus stop. Zoe texted, "Interesting scarf location." I stared at the message. Zoe texted, "Also, Shellwalk Wall?" "Really, Connor?" My stomach dropped. I typed back with one thumb. I texted, "You saw that?" Zoe texted, "I dragged a child away from your shrine 15 minutes ago. You owe me public service credit." I looked at the Shellwalk bag in my hand. I texted, "Did Brielle see?" Zoe took 10 seconds to answer. Zoe texted, "Enough to ask why I was acting normal, which is rude." That answer was useless. Then Zoe made it worse. She sent a beach photo. Brielle stood near the water in her swimsuit and open beach shirt, scolding Zoe while the little girl buried Zoe's feet in sand. Nothing about the picture was indecent. It was bright, normal, and way too private for my brain to touch casually. I turned my phone face down on the bus seat. My face went hot anyway. Zoe texted, "Wrong chat." Zoe texted, "Or, right one, science pending." I typed, deleted, typed again, and finally sent nothing. 5 minutes later, Brielle texted me from her own number. Brielle texted, "Delete that photo." I looked at the screen like it had bitten me. I texted, "Zoe sent it." Brielle texted, "I know." Texted, "Then punish the source." Brielle texted, "Connor." My thumb hovered over the delete button. One word. Full threat package. I should have deleted it instantly. Instead, I turned the phone off, because my decision-making had taken a beach vacation too. When I got home, I hid the shell charm pouch inside my desk drawer. The shark scarf went under a textbook. The phone stayed face down. Marley Byrne opened my door without knocking because sibling law is fake. She saw the textbook sitting too high over the scarf and lifted it with 2 fingers. Marley said, "Connor, why does your homework have shark teeth?" I reached for it. "Private academic matter." Marley dodged me and read the shell walk bag on my desk. "Beach girl gave you sharks and you bought a secret shell thing. You are either dating the ocean or being stupid with accessories." "Second one," I said. Marley tossed the scarf at my face. "Then be stupid quietly. Mom smiles when you get gifts. It is creepy." That little warning hit harder than her joke. Even at home, the scarf had turned into proof that somebody thanked me without laughing first. 3 objects. 3 problems. The charm was supposed to be a quiet thank you and a goodbye to the old me. Meanwhile, the wall photo made it look like Phoebe and I had a cute beach story. Then the swimsuit photo made Brielle text me first and sound angry enough to be scared of her own question. I thought the gift was the dangerous part. The next day at Harborlight, a quiet girl froze in front of a customer. The words I used to save her made me look cruel enough that even I hated hearing them. I brought the shell charm to Harborlight Books the next day like a criminal smuggling evidence. It sat in my bag behind the shark scarf, inside the tiny paper pouch from Shell Walk Craft Shop. Every time the front doorbell rang, I expected Brielle to walk in, point at it, and ask why I was making goodbye gifts with another girl's fingerprints all over the story. Instead, Wendy Birch appeared behind the counter. Wendy was a Ridgemont classmate with a soft voice, careful hands, and the posture of someone apologizing to furniture. Mrs. Halpern had put her beside the register before I arrived. Mrs. Halpern said, "Connor, Wendy starts today. Show her where the paper bags are, then let her speak to customers." Wendy gripped a stack of bookmarks. "Hi, Connor." "Hi," I said. "Welcome to the book mines." Wendy blinked. Milo, sitting by the kids' shelf with a dragon book, whispered, "He chokes when afraid." Phoebe Darrow, Milo's older sister, looked up from the aisle and smiled. "He does. Great." My workplace had become a commentary booth. The morning rush hit fast. Beach families came in sunburned and damp. Kids wanted stickers. Parents wanted shade. Milo wanted to explain dragon rankings to a toddler who could barely stand. Wendy did fine until the customer arrived. He was a big man with a red face, a warped hardcover, and the confidence of someone who believed yelling counted as a receipt. He slammed the book on the counter so hard Wendy flinched. The customer barked, "Return this!" Wendy looked at the swollen pages. "Sir, I can ask Mrs. Halpern." The customer leaned over the counter. I said, "Return it. Do you work here or just stare?" Wendy's mouth closed. Her hands locked around the bookmarks. The line behind him went quiet. Phoebe looked over from the aisle. Milo lowered his dragon book. I stepped beside Wendy. "Lower your voice," I told the customer. The customer turned his glare on me. "I am talking to her. She heard you," I said. "Half the beach heard you. Volume achieved." A teenage customer near the bookmarks snorted. The man's face got redder. This book fell apart after one day. I looked at the hardcover. Sand clung to the pages. The bottom edge had water stains. A discount sticker from a beach stand still sat on the back. I slid it back toward him. "Harborlight did not sell you this," I said. The customer jabbed a finger at Wendy. She was about to get the owner. "Because Wendy was being kinder than your lie deserved." The line reacted. Small gasps, one laugh. A mother pulled her kid closer, which was fair because the customer looked ready to discover new crimes. The customer said, "You calling me a liar?" I tapped the beach stand sticker. "Your book is." Phoebe covered Milo's ears too late. Milo already looked thrilled. The customer grabbed the hardcover. I put one hand on the counter. "You are done talking to Wendy." He stared at me. I stared back. Mrs. Halpern stepped out from the back room, wiping her hands on a towel. She saw my hand on the counter, Wendy frozen beside me, and the customer's ruined book. She did nothing. Good. Witness mode. The customer looked at Mrs. Halpern, then at the line, then at the sticker on his own bad decision. He muttered, "Trash store." I said, "Trash receipt." He left. The bell above the door jingled like it was laughing at him. The line breathed again. Mr. Halpern, the bookstore owner, looked over from the back shelves and lifted one thumb. That was his whole victory speech. I respected the efficiency. A woman in line slid her basket closer to Wendy and said, "Take your time, honey." Wendy heard the kindness and somehow looked more wrecked. "Public mercy can hit like a thrown chair when you are already cracked," Milo whispered. "He lost to a sticker." "He lost to confidence with mold damage," I said. People laughed. Wendy did not. She stood behind the counter with the bookmarks crushed in both hands. Mrs. Halpern walked over, took the bent bookmarks gently, and placed them flat. Mrs. Halpern said, "Take 5 minutes, Wendy." Wendy nodded and slipped toward the back room. A teenage customer near the bookmarks whispered, "Maybe she should not work the counter." Wendy heard it. Her shoulders folded before the backroom door closed. So did I. Followed after ringing up the next customer. Wendy stood by the stock shelves, eyes wet, face aimed at the floor. "Connor," Wendy whispered, "I am sorry." I wanted to say it was fine. It would have been easy. Soft voice, easy exit, everyone feels decent. The problem was the customer would come back wearing a new face eventually. Harbor Light had 100 nice corners and exactly one front counter. "Sorry is fine," I said. "Freezing is expensive." Wendy looked up. The words hit her hard. I kept going because stopping there would make the wound pointless. "If I am outside with Milo or carrying boxes, the first sentence has to be yours," I said. "Start with lower your voice, try step back, ask for the owner, use anything before the customer decides you are furniture." Her lip shook. I hated myself a little. Wendy said, "I know." "No," I said. "You know it after the danger. You need to know it during the first sentence." She wiped her cheek fast. Mrs. Halpern appeared at the stockroom door. I expected her to tell me to shut up. Mrs. Halpern only looked at Wendy and said, "Connor is blunt. He is also right." Wendy nodded once. Then she walked out the back door. The bell over the front entrance rang again. I returned to the counter feeling like the villain in a training video nobody asked for. Phoebe waited near the front with Milo. Phoebe said, "That was hard to hear." Noticed? Wendy heard it too. I looked at the back door. Phoebe's voice softened. "She might come back." Might is doing a lot of labor. Milo raised his dragon book. "If she comes back, can I clap?" "No," Phoebe and I said together. Milo sighed like democracy had failed. That night, Zoe called while I was sorting old bookmarks at the burn kitchen table. Her face filled my phone screen. Brielle sat beside her, half out of frame, hair tied back, expression guarded enough to qualify as architecture. Zoe said, "Connor, rumor says you made Wendy cry at Harbor Light." Brielle's eyes lifted to the screen. I said, "Rumor should get a summer job." Zoe leaned closer. "Did you?" "Yeah." Brielle's face changed. I told them the short version. Customer yelled. Wendy froze. I handled him. Then I told Wendy the truth too sharply because soft lies would leave her alone next time. Zoe stared at me. "Wow, that is emotionally ugly. Thank you for the review." Brielle spoke before Zoe could keep poking. "Connor," Brielle said, "did Wendy quit?" "I think so." Brielle looked down for a second. Then she said, "You were harsh." "Yeah." Brielle's voice stayed steady. The warning was real. That surprised me enough that I shut up. Zoe looked between us through the screen. Her grin returned slowly. "Terrible news," Zoe said. "My charger just exploded in another room." Brielle snapped, "Zoe!" Zoe had already disappeared from frame. The phone showed only Brielle now. She sat still, then tucked hair behind one ear. "You do that," Brielle said. "Make girls cry?" Brielle glared. "Say things people need, then act like you did something wrong because it hurt." I looked at the phone. That line was too close. The kitchen suddenly felt small. "I am good at making things uncomfortable," I said. Brielle's mouth twitched. "I know." A quiet beat passed. Then Brielle looked away first. "You still need to delete that beach photo," she said. There she was, back on defense. "Safer for both of us," I said. "Zoe sent it." Brielle looked at me through the screen. "Connor, one-word threats are lazy. They work on weak men." Her eyes narrowed. I should have ended the call there. Instead, I said, "Good night, Brielle." She blinked once. "Good night," Brielle said. Then the screen went dark. The next morning, Wendy came back. Wendy stood outside Harbor Light for almost a minute with both hands on her bag. Then she opened the door, walked to the counter, and faced Mrs. Halpern. Wendy said, "I want another chance." Mrs. Halpern looked at me. I stayed quiet. This one had to be Wendy's sentence. Mrs. Halpern nodded. "Then take the front counter for the first hour." Wendy swallowed. "Okay." Milo peeked over his dragon book and slowly raised both hands. Phoebe slapped his arms down. "No clapping," Phoebe whispered. Milo looked depressed. Wendy saw him and laughed once through her nerves. That laugh did more for the room than any speech I could have made. By noon, Wendy handled 3 customers alone. Her voice shook. It still worked. When a man asked a question too fast, Wendy said, "One moment, please," and looked him in the eye. Tiny sentence. Big comeback. After my shift, Taryn dragged the tour helpers back to Ridgemont for a final hallway check. She did it with one message and the spiritual violence of a senior who owned a clipboard. I walked into the school auditorium wearing the orange lanyard again. Wendy arrives 10 minutes later with a stack of donated paperbacks for the visitor table. Brielle and Zoe were already near the aisle. Spencer stood beside Brielle with the tour sheet under his arm. Wendy crossed the room toward me. Every step looked like it cost her, but she took all of them. "Connor," Wendy said, holding out a small black book clip, "your hair kept falling in your eyes at work." I stared at the clip. Zoe's face lit up. Brielle went still. Wendy stepped closer before she could lose nerve. She clipped my hair back with careful fingers, then stepped away fast. "There," Wendy said. "You can see the disasters sooner." The auditorium paused. Zoe whispered, "Oh, Brielle, that was your lane." Brielle said, "Zoe!" Her voice had teeth. Spencer looked from Wendy's clip to Brielle's face and smiled like he had found a crack. "Connor collects helpers now," Spencer said. Wendy flinched. I turned to him. "Spencer," I said, "if people helping me bothers you, try being useful enough to qualify." The freshman helpers near the water cart laughed before they could save themselves. Spencer's smile died. Wendy looked at me, then at him. Her voice shook, but she used it. "Please do not talk about me like I am not here," Wendy said. The auditorium went quiet. Spencer blinked. Brielle stared at Wendy, then at me. I did not rescue Wendy again. She had the sentence now. Taryn McCoy walked by, saw the scene, and nodded once. "Good. Everyone is developing survival skills," Zoe muttered. "This school is unwell." I touched the book clip in my hair. It looked stupid. Wendy did not. She had taken the hit, come back, and used her own voice in front of Spencer. Brielle walked past me on her way to the aisle. She stopped just long enough to speak low. "Connor," Brielle said, "it looks stupid. I've heard worse." Her eyes moved to the clip, then to my face. "Keep it," Brielle said. Then she walked away. Zoe turned toward me with both hands over her mouth. I said, "Do not," Zoe said. I said nothing. You inhaled loudly. "Because oxygen is funny." Taryn posted the final visitor tour positions on the sideboard before we left. Spencer and Brielle stood together at the main route. Zoe floated near them as official chaos. Wendy would help at the book table. I was listed under back hall support with the orange lanyard symbol beside my name. Background support again? Fine. The shell charm stayed hidden in my bag. My phone still had the beach photo. The book clip held my hair back like Wendy had stamped proof on my forehead that other girls could care and survive. Brielle saw all three pieces, even if she only knew two. On tour day, the perfect replacement boy got the public spot beside her. I got the wrong hallway, the ugly lanyard, and the girl from Lakeview Beach walking straight into Ridgemont with my name already in her mouth. Tour day started with a book clip in my hair and a shell charm in my pocket. Spencer Merritt stood beside Brielle Sawyer like he had won a prize from a vending machine. He looked polished. I looked like volunteer caution tape with bangs. Brielle noticed the book clip before the first visitor entered Ridgemont High. Her eyes moved to my hair, then to Wendy Birch at the book table, then back to me. Zoe Phelps saw the whole triangle and smiled like a demon stretching before exercise. Zoe said, "Connor, I love The Office. Supply romance arc." Wendy went pink behind the table. Brielle said, "Zoe, stop harassing the equipment." "The equipment has feelings," Zoe said. Spencer adjusted his visitor tour sheet. "Can we focus? Families will be here in 5 minutes." "Spencer has discovered time," I said. "Dangerous day." A freshman helper laughed. Spencer looked at him. The freshman suddenly respected the floor. Taryn McCoy, the honor committee senior who had cursed me with the orange lanyard, walked up and snapped the strap against my chest. "Connor," Taryn said, "back hall support. One rule. If a visitor group hits the wrong room, you have 3 minutes before Griff starts the welcome speech and everyone watches the collapse." Griff Branson, the student council president, stood near the auditorium doors with his perfect jacket and practiced smile. I looked at the hall map in Taryn's hand. 3 minutes, I said. "Any other cheerful threats?" Taryn said, "Yes, do not improvise mere fire alarms, restrictive." Brielle looked from Taryn to my lanyard. Spencer stepped closer to Brielle. "We have the main group handled." He said it like I was already somewhere lower. I touched the book clip. "Good," I said. "Try not to marry the route." Zoe coughed into her fist. Brielle's mouth twitched for half a second. Spencer saw it. His eyes hardened. "Good. Let the replacement boy feel weather." The first tour group arrived in a burst of parents, younger students, and nervous smiles. Spencer greeted them beautifully. Brielle stood beside him, calm enough to sell brochures without opening one. On paper, they looked perfect. That was the annoying part. The paper kept making sense. I moved behind the main hall with 2 freshman helpers and a stack of water bottles. I skipped speeches and tour procedure opera. My job was simple: catch disasters before they got public. Then, Disaster walked in wearing a beach tote. Phoebe Darrow entered with the second visitor group. Milo's older sister had her hair tied back and a visitor sticker on her shirt. 2 girls her age walked beside her, whispering already. Phoebe saw me across the hall and lifted one hand. I lifted mine back before my brain could stop it. Brielle saw that from the main route. So did Spencer. The day smiled with all its teeth. Taryn appeared at my shoulder. The east stairwell group is missing. I looked toward the hall. A freshman helper was pointing Phoebe's group toward the west roof stairs. Wrong door, wrong floor. Perfect chance for Ridgemont to introduce visitors to locked metal and regret. I moved. Hey, I called. The freshman helper turned. Taryn said, West Hall. West Hall, I said, taking the front of the group, has lockers. West roof has lawsuits and pigeons. Follow me. A parent laughed. The helper's face went pale. Phoebe's friend whispered, Is that the bookstore guy? Phoebe whispered back, That is Connor. Brielle was too far to hear the words. She heard Phoebe say my name. I redirected the group through the east stairwell, cut behind the auditorium, and opened the side doors exactly as Griff began his welcome. The visitors slipped into their seats without the public stampede. Griff's smile did not even flinch. Taryn passed me near the door and said, Useful orange lanyard propaganda, I said. Willa Rhodes, the shy committee girl helping at the door, whispered, Still useful? I took the compliment and left before it grew legs. Behind me, Phoebe's 2 friends were already whispering louder. The lanyard guy saved us. Phoebe, is that your bookstore hero? Phoebe hissed. Stop. I turned the corner and almost ran straight into Brielle. She was alone. Spencer was gone. Zoe was gone too. There was no safe window table distance. Her breathing was a little fast, like she had been walking too quickly and hated that her lungs had reported it. I stepped back. Brielle? She looked past me, then back at my face. I was looking for you, Brielle said. That sentence hit harder than any sleeve grab. You left the main group? I asked. For a minute. Spencer will survive? Brielle's eyes sharpened. Do not make that face. What face? The face where you act like I am only allowed to stand where I was assigned. I shut my mouth. Fair shot. Brutal form. The hallway noise faded behind the auditorium doors. Brielle looked at the orange lanyard, the book clip, and the badge on my shirt. Then she said, Quieter. During break, I kept thinking I would see you somewhere. I did not move. She kept going before pride could tackle her again. At school, at the store, on the way home. It was weird when I did not. My chest tightened. Brielle swallowed. I wanted to see you today, Brielle said. There it was. The rumor table was out of range. Zoe was around the corner. My sleeve stayed loose. Brielle stood in a side hall and admitted she had searched for the boy she once told to stop hovering. I wanted to reach for that sentence and act rich. I did not. The no-chase rule stood between us like a locked gate I had built with my own humiliation, so I only said, You found me. Brielle looked at me like that answer annoyed her and steadied her at the same time. Then someone called my name. Connor! Phoebe ran around the corner with her visitor sticker crooked on her shirt. Her 2 friends trailed behind, delighted and shameless. She stopped too close to me, then noticed Brielle and slowed down fast. Phoebe said, Sorry, Taryn said you saved our group from the wrong room. I wanted to thank you. Brielle's face went smooth, deadly smooth. I said, No problem. One of Phoebe's friends leaned around her shoulder. The friend said, Wait, you are the Shell Walk wall photo guy. My soul tried to leave through the ceiling. Brielle turned her head toward me. Shell Walk? Brielle asked. Zoe appeared at the end of the hall with the timing of a criminal angel. Zoe said, Oh, fantastic. We reached the gift shop chapter. Brielle looked at Zoe. You knew? Zoe raised both hands. I knew shapes. I did not know plot. Phoebe's cheeks went pink. It was just a shop photo. The other friend said, It said bookstore hero and his beach guide. I closed my eyes for 1 second. Open floor. Swallow me. Brielle's gaze moved to Phoebe, then to me, then to my pocket. The shell charm chose that moment to make its escape. The tiny paper pouch slid halfway out when I shifted my bag strap. I caught it against my thigh before it hit the floor. Brielle saw the catch. Zoe saw the catch. Phoebe saw the catch and looked away too kindly. Spencer arrived behind Brielle, breathing steady, smile arranged. Brielle, Spencer said. The main group is waiting. Brielle did not turn. She asked me, What is in the pouch? A bad decision with string, I said. Zoe made a tiny noise. Phoebe covered her mouth. Spencer stepped closer. If this is personal, maybe after the tour. Brielle looked at him then. For a second, Spencer seemed sure she would agree. Poor guy. He had brought a clipboard to a knife fight made of feelings. Brielle said, Zoe can take the main group with you. Spencer's smile froze. Zoe pointed at herself. I can? Brielle said. Yes. Zoe's grin turned wicked. Wonderful. Spencer, I will be your emotional support hazard. Spencer stared at Brielle. You are leaving the route? Brielle's chin lifted. For a minute. Second time she said it. This one had witnesses. The hallway recalculated. Phoebe's friends suddenly looked at Spencer like he was losing a game they had just joined. Spencer stepped back. Fine, Spencer said. His voice tried for calm and fell into a ditch. Zoe grabbed the tour sheet from his hand. Come on, replacement prince, let us go discuss lockers. Spencer looked cooked. He followed her anyway. A visiting parent immediately asked him whether the visitor lot had overnight rules. Spencer answered with the face of a man swallowing gravel. Zoe looked back once and winked at me. Even the lanyard felt embarrassed. Tiny damage. Real pleasure. Brielle waited until they turned the corner, then her eyes cut back to me. Do you still have the photo Zoe sent? Brielle asked. I knew exactly which one. It was the Lakeview Beach photo. Brielle in the swimsuit and open beach shirt, scolding Zoe while the little girl buried feet in sand. A normal photo my brain had treated like contraband because Brielle was inside it. I forgot to delete it, I said. Brielle's face went pink. Phoebe looked between us and wisely stepped back. Phoebe said, we should go find our seats. Her friends did not want to go anywhere. Phoebe dragged them with her eyes. Good woman. Strong crowd control. When Phoebe left, Brielle stood in front of me with the shell pouch still trapped under my hand. That photo is embarrassing, Brielle said. I did not share it. I know. I did not stare at it in public. Her eyes narrowed. Connor. There was that one-word threat again. I lifted one hand. Fine, I will delete it. Brielle looked away. Then she said, you can keep it. I blinked. What? You can keep it, Brielle repeated, voice low, on one condition. The hallway became very interested in pretending not to listen. I asked, what condition? Brielle looked at the orange lanyard, then the corner where Spencer and Zoe had vanished, then my face. You spend time with me and Zoe after the tour, Brielle said. You stay where I can ask you myself. I am tired of hearing about you from Taryn, Wendy, Phoebe, and every person with eyes. My mouth went dry. Access with training wheels. Still dangerous. Still, Brielle had walked away from Spencer and hunted me through the school. She admitted she wanted to see me, then set a condition that put me back in her orbit because she said so out loud. The old Connor would have exploded into gratitude. The newer version of me checked the gate. Brielle, I said, I am not going to be your hallway habit again. Her face tightened. I know, Brielle said. Do you? She met my eyes. Sure. That yes had teeth in it. A small answer. Enough for one step. Okay, I said. After the tour, Brielle breathed out. The reaction was small, but I saw it because I had spent years studying her face for crumbs. This time, the crumb walked to me and demanded scheduling rights. Zoe rounded the corner without Spencer. Zoe said, good news. I gave Spencer to a parent who loves questions about parking. He may never recover. Brielle snapped, Zoe. Zoe ignored her and looked at me. Are we emotionally done blocking hall traffic? I said, for now. Zoe's eyes dropped to my pocket. Is that the shell thing? Brielle turned sharply. Shell thing? I pointed at Zoe. Community hazard. Zoe grinned. Proudly. The pouch stayed hidden. Barely. The rest of the tour moved like Ridgemont had eaten caffeine. Wendy held the book table without freezing. Taryn gave me one satisfied nod when the final group exited the auditorium on time. Phoebe passed me near the lockers and whispered, good luck, which made Brielle's eyes sharpen even from 10 feet away. Spencer returned near the end with a parent still asking about parking. His face looked polite and dead. Zoe had committed civic violence. After the last visitor left, Brielle walked up beside me and Zoe near the commons entrance. She did not grab my sleeve. She stood close enough that people noticed and far enough that I still had to choose. Progress, Ridgemont style, messy and loud. Spencer watched from the tour board. Brielle looked at me. Connor, Brielle said, you are coming with us, Zoe added. By us, she means us. By coming, she means do not run. By Connor, she means the emotionally defective boy in the lanyard. Thank you for translating, I said. Brielle's mouth twitched. Spencer folded the tour sheet too tightly. Spencer had the clean spot beside her, the public route, the better grades, and the polished smile. Brielle still left him to search for me. She gave me a condition. A confession was still out of reach. Fine. Conditions create repeat meetings. Repeat meetings create mistakes. Mistakes create the kind of trouble Zoe probably wrote down for exercise. I thought agreeing to spend time with Brielle and Zoe would cool the beach photo mess. It did the opposite. The next girl who walked through Harborlight's door brought rain on her shoulders, Phoebe behind her, Wendy at the counter, and Spencer outside with an umbrella he was dumb enough to trust. Zoe Phelps bailed before Brielle Sawyer even reached Harborlight Books. Brielle's last message from Zoe sat on her phone like a crime scene. Zoe texted, growth requires space. I am eating popcorn. So the condition came due without its safety witness. After the tour, Brielle had told me I owed her time with her and Zoe. Zoe turned that into a solo field trip with snacks and no shame. The storm had hit after school, right when Harborlight filled with people hiding from the sidewalk. Mrs. Halperin pointed me toward the front mat and said, Connor, keep that floor dry before someone makes us famous for the wrong reason. Wet floor, one warning, and a future lawsuit-shaped puddle. Wendy Birch handled the counter while I stacked towels near the front. The same quiet Wendy who had frozen in front of the hostile customer now told a beach father, "One moment please," without shrinking. Tiny sentence, large upgrade. Phoebe Darrow came in 10 minutes later with a paper bag against her chest and rain in her hair. Milo's older sister lifted the bag and smiled at me. "Connor," Phoebe said, "Milo left this dragon book here. He said the store guy would guard it better than civilization." "High expectations from a child in shark scarf debt," I said. Phoebe laughed. Wendy looked between us and smiled like she knew exactly how dangerous that laugh was for the atmosphere. Then the front bell snapped again. Brielle Sawyer stepped inside. Her hair was damp against her cheeks, her jacket clung to her shoulders. She held her phone in one hand like she had been using it as a shield against making a sane choice. I stared at her. She stared back. Wendy spoke first, because Wendy had apparently decided fear was boring now. "Brielle," Wendy said, reaching for a towel, "you are soaked." Brielle looked at Wendy, then at the towel, then at me behind the counter. "I know what rain is," Brielle said. Wendy did not flinch. "Good, then you know towels help?" Phoebe covered a smile with the paper bag. I looked at Wendy. "Proud of you," I said. Wendy went pink and shoved the towel toward Brielle faster. Brielle took it with stiff fingers. The first damage happened before anyone said Phoebe's name. Brielle had walked into my new world and found Wendy speaking easily, Phoebe smiling warmly, and me looking like I belonged there. That was the part her face failed to hide. Brielle squeezed water from the end of her sleeve. I leaned on the counter. "So you came alone?" Brielle's chin lifted. "I said we were spending time after the tour. You said you and Zoe." "Zoe abandoned public safety," Brielle said. Phoebe made a soft laugh. Brielle turned toward her. Phoebe lowered the paper bag. "Sorry, that sounds like Zoe." Brielle's eyes narrowed a little. "Phoebe Darrow." Phoebe nodded. "Brielle Sawyer, from the tour," Wendy whispered from the counter. "And Shellwalk." I looked at Wendy. "You too, bookstore clip?" Wendy pressed both lips together. Brielle's gaze shot back to me. "Shellwalk again?" "It was a craft shop," I said. Phoebe said quickly. "Milo dragged us there first. Connor needed help choosing something." Brielle's hand tightened around the towel. "Choosing what?" Brielle asked. There went the shell charm, kicking from inside my bag without moving. I kept my voice dry. "Something small." Brielle stared at me. Phoebe looked away too politely. Wendy suddenly found the receipt drawer fascinating. The store had 2 customers pretending to read bookmarks while listening so hard their ears probably hurt. Brielle laughed once, without humor. "So Wendy fixes your hair, Phoebe helps you choose secret things, Taryn pins you with that ugly lanyard, and Zoe sends me photos like a criminal weather alert." A customer near the bookmarks lowered her romance paperback by 1 inch. Her husband whispered, "Should we leave?" The woman whispered back, "Absolutely not." Harborlike had betrayed me too. Even the adults had chosen violence. I said, "That is a very organized complaint." Her eyes flashed. "Where do I apply, Connor?" Brielle asked. The bookstore went silent. Phoebe's expression changed. Wendy stopped touching the receipts. That line was jealousy with its coat off. I felt the old reflex wake up. Step closer. Comfort her. Explain everything. Hand over the charm, the scarf, the photo, the whole stupid nervous system. I killed the reflex where it stood. "You already applied," I said. "You wrote the condition." Brielle's face warmed. "I wrote a condition about time," Brielle said. "I did not write one about standing in line behind every girl who discovered you after I stopped looking." That sentence hit Phoebe, Wendy, and me at once. Phoebe's smile faded into something gentler. Wendy lowered her eyes, then raised them again like she refused to apologize for caring. Brielle had finally named the thing under the towel, rain, and attitude. She sounded late. Phoebe stepped back toward the aisle. "I should check Milo's book," Phoebe said, holding up the bag like a surrender flag. Wendy nodded too fast. "I should check the towels, far away." "Cowards," I said. Wendy said, "Survivors." Phoebe walked toward the back aisle. Wendy moved behind the counter. Brielle watched them both leave space for us, and that made her angrier. Space meant they understood what she refused to name. She turned toward the door. "Forget it," Brielle said. "I came around the counter." "Brielle." She stepped back without looking. Her shoe hit the wet mat. The mat slid. Brielle's balance vanished. I caught her before her shoulder hit the display table. One hand locked around her waist. The other caught her arm. Her fingers grabbed the front of my shirt and held on hard enough to wrinkle the fabric into a confession. The bookmarks on the display wobbled. A paperback fell flat on the floor. No one moved. The girl who had crossed town in rain to pretend she was only keeping a condition was now half in my arms, breathing fast, eyes wide, and too proud to be rescued cleanly. I looked down at her. "You came all this way to lose to flooring?" I asked. Brielle whispered, "Shut up." Her grip did not loosen. Wendy smiled from behind the counter. Phoebe saw the catch from the aisle, then gently pulled the backroom door halfway closed like she was giving the scene privacy and taking the entire bookstore hostage with manners. Good woman. Then the front bell rang again. Spencer Merritt stepped inside with a black umbrella, dry shoulders, and the tragic confidence of a guy arriving after the main event. He saw Brielle in my arms. His smile died so fast it deserved a chalk outline. Brielle, Spencer said, voice too controlled. I saw you come this way. I brought an umbrella. Brielle straightened out of my hold. I let go first. Important detail. Spencer's eyes moved from my wrinkled shirt to Brielle's wet jacket. You should have called me, Spencer said to Brielle. I could have walked you here. Wendy whispered. She arrived. Spencer looked at Wendy. Wendy looked back and did not shrink. Tiny Wendy had become a landmine. Beautiful. Spencer turned to me. Connor, do you always make scenes at work? Only when the floor attacks, I said. Brielle pressed the towel against her sleeve and looked at the umbrella in Spencer's hand. Spencer stepped closer. Come on, I'll take you home. That was the clean offer. Dry umbrella, polished boy. Easy answer. The hallway version of Spencer had finally followed her into my world, and now everyone could see the choice. Brielle looked at Spencer. Then she looked at me. I took my old rain-stained hoodie from the hook behind the counter. Mrs. Halpern had washed it after the puddle day, but one cuff still carried a faint mark from Brielle's disaster weather. I held it out without stepping into her space. You are cold, I said. Brielle looked at the hoodie. Spencer lifted the umbrella higher, like that would make it louder. Brielle, Spencer said, that is soaked store clothing. It is clean, Wendy said. Phoebe called from the aisle. And warmer than an umbrella. Spencer's jaw tightened. Brielle took the hoodie. She put it on. The sleeves swallowed her hands. The whole store watched Spencer lose to cotton. He was cooked in the quiet way, which was worse. Brielle pulled the hood up and said to Spencer, I can get home. Spencer stared at her. In his hoodie? Brielle's fingers curled around the cuffs. Yes, Brielle said. One word. Public funeral. The customers at the bookmark rack suddenly found the floor very interesting. Wendy smiled into the towel stack. Phoebe looked down at Milo's book bag, graceful enough to avoid enjoying it too openly. I said nothing. If I gloated, I would ruin the point. Brielle had chosen where people could hear. That was the rule. Spencer stood there with his umbrella open inside the bookstore like a defeated patio table. Then he lowered it. Fine, Spencer said. Brielle looked at him. Thank you for coming. That was worse than an insult. Polite dismissal has no handles. Spencer left with his clean umbrella and no clean victory. The bell jingled behind him. Mrs. Halpern appeared from the back with a stack of towels, took one look at Brielle and my hoodie, and placed the towels on the counter without comment. Then Mrs. Halpern looked at me. Connor, if you are done causing weather-based literature, lock the side door. Wendy made a tiny sound. Phoebe turned toward the shelves. Brielle looked down at the hoodie like she had only just realized the whole store had accepted her choice as fact. The umbrella failed. The hoodie stayed. Brielle kept my hoodie on. I leaned against the counter, careful with my distance. You are making a habit of walking away from Spencer, I said. Brielle's eyes lifted. You are making a habit of noticing. Hard to miss. He carries props. Her mouth twitched. Then she looked at Wendy, then toward the aisle where Phoebe had retreated. Her voice changed. My little sister was the girl at Lakeview, Brielle said. That hit me sideways. The yellow hat? I asked. Brielle nodded. Daisy. Zoe spun her around so hard, Daisy asked later if the shark scarf boy was wanted by police. I closed my eyes. Zoe needs limits. Daisy keeps asking about you, Brielle said. The store noise softened around us. Brielle pulled the hoodie sleeves over her fingers. She is shy around boys my age, Brielle said. Usually she hides behind Mom, but she remembers you making Milo laugh from across the boardwalk. I waited. Brielle swallowed. Come to my house tomorrow, she said. Meet Daisy properly. I stared at her. Her house. Her family. The private world behind every guarded look, every sharp retreat, every sentence she refused to finish. I asked, as what? Brielle's face went red, but she did not run. As someone I trust around her, Brielle said. That answer dodged official and still punched a hole through the old wall. Wendy heard it and looked down with a smile. Phoebe appeared at the end of the aisle, gave Brielle one small nod and stepped back again. The side girl stayed present and handed her the room. Brielle clutched my hoodie too tightly and waited for my answer. The old Connor would have said yes fast enough to trip. I took one breath. Tomorrow, I said. Brielle's shoulders dropped a fraction. Wendy smiled into the towel stack. Phoebe stepped back down the aisle and let the silence stay Brielle's. Mrs. Halpern checked the rain outside, saw Brielle still wrapped in my hoodie, and did not offer another towel. Brielle kept her fingers locked around the cuffs like letting go might give Spencer his umbrella back. Then I remembered the yellow hat at Lakeview, the child Zoe had spun away from me, and the way Brielle said her name. If Daisy already knew the shark scarf boy, what else had Brielle's family heard about the annoying guy Brielle kept pretending was just a classmate? They had survived cafeterias, rooftops, campaign girls, wet floors, and Spencer Merritt with an umbrella. Somehow, the Sawyer house made me more nervous. Brielle wore my hoodie the next afternoon when she opened her front door. She had washed it. The cuff still carried the faint rain stain from the puddle day, because apparently even laundry respected dramatic continuity. Zoe stood behind her in the hallway, holding a snack bag like she was here for moral support and property damage. Brielle saw me looking at the hoodie. "I washed it," Brielle said. "I see that. I'm giving it back later." Strong legal wording. Zoe leaned around Brielle's shoulder. Translation: she is emotionally squatting in your hoodie. Brielle snapped. Zoe. Zoe smiled. "I brought snacks. I am immune." Then a little girl shot out from behind Brielle and grabbed the doorframe with both hands. She wore a yellow hair clip today instead of the Lakeview sun hat. Same sharp eyes, same energy as a tiny judge with sugar access. She pointed at me. "You are the shark scarf boy," Daisy Sawyer said. Brielle closed her eyes for 1 second. I crouched a little. I was hoping that title died quietly. Daisy looked offended. "It is a good title," Zoe whispered. "Daisy has taste," Brielle said. "Daisy manners." Daisy stepped closer and looked me up and down. "Did you bring the sharks?" "No." Daisy's face felt like I had ruined a national holiday. I held up a paperback from Harborlight instead. I brought a dragon book Milo recommended, slightly less biting. Daisy took it with both hands, her whole face lit up. Then she grabbed my wrist and pulled me inside like she had signed ownership papers. "Mom!" Daisy shouted. "Brielle's Connor is here." The hallway exploded in silence. Brielle went red. Zoe's snack bag crinkled violently. I looked at Brielle. "Brielle's Connor?" I asked. Brielle pointed at Daisy. "Child witness, unreliable." Daisy hugged the book to her chest. "You said his name a lot." Zoe bent forward like the sentence had physically blessed her. Brielle hissed. "Daisy." Daisy blinked. "What? I did not say the part where you." Brielle covered Daisy's mouth. "Excellent start." I had been inside the Sawyer house for 20 seconds, and the child had already done more damage than Spencer managed in 3 weeks. Daisy wriggled free and grabbed my sleeve. "You sit by me," Brielle said. "Daisy, he is my guest." Daisy looked at her sister with brutal child logic. "Then why did you put him by the door?" Zoe dropped into a laugh so hard the snack bag hit her knee. Brielle's glare could have peeled paint. I stepped inside before Daisy started cross-examining property rights. The living room had warm lamps, a low couch, and a coffee table covered with crayons, puzzle pieces, and one abandoned juice box. Daisy dragged me toward the couch and shoved the dragon book into my hands. "Read the back," Daisy ordered. Brielle said. "Daisy, Connor is a guest." Daisy said. "Guests read." Zoe dropped onto the armchair. "I support local government." I read the back cover in the deepest fake announcer voice I could manage. Daisy laughed into the couch cushion. Brielle stood near the doorway, watching with the strangest look on her face. She seemed ready to scold Daisy, smile at me, and escape into the kitchen all at once. Multitasking, but make it panic. Daisy climbed onto the couch beside me. "Do the dragon voice," Daisy said. "There is a fee." Daisy narrowed her eyes. "I have crackers." "Approved." I did the dragon voice. Zoe made a sound like she was trying not to die. Brielle covered her face with one sleeve of my hoodie. The sleeve made it worse. Daisy patted the empty cushion beside her. "Brielle, sit. Connor does the dragon better when people are watching." Brielle stayed near the doorway. "I am fine here." Daisy looked at me and whispered loudly, "She's scared." Zoe pointed at Daisy. "Protect this witness." Brielle snapped. "Nobody is scared." Daisy tilted her head. "Then sit." Brielle sat on the far end of the couch. She left 2 cushions between us and acted like that distance had legal power. Daisy immediately climbed into the gap with the dragon book and erased the border. Child diplomacy, ruthless and effective. Then Mrs. Sawyer entered from the kitchen. Brielle's mother had kind eyes, an apron dusted with flour, and the calm smile of someone who had been listening for longer than anyone wanted. She looked at Daisy pressed against my side, then at Brielle hiding inside my hoodie. "Connor Byrne," Mrs. Sawyer said. "It is nice to finally meet you." Finally. That word walked into the room and sat on every chair. I stood so fast, Daisy almost slid off the couch. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Sawyer," I said. Mrs. Sawyer smiled. "Brielle has told me a lot about you." Brielle made a strangled sound. Zoe slowly raised the snack bag like a toast. Daisy said, "I told him already." Mrs. Sawyer looked at Daisy. "I heard." Brielle's face had entered a temperature zone unavailable to normal skin. I kept my mouth shut because survival sometimes looks like silence. Mrs. Sawyer's smile softened. "Mostly good things, Connor." "Mostly." The word was honest enough to trust. Daisy climbed over the couch arm and stood beside me like she had been assigned security. "Connor can come again, right?" Daisy asked. Brielle answered before I could. "If he wants." Daisy frowned. "That is a weak answer." Zoe pointed her snack bag at Daisy. "This child understands stakes." Brielle looked at me, embarrassed and stubborn. "You can come again." The room heard it. Mrs. Sawyer heard it. I heard the doorway into Brielle's private life open another inch. Mrs. Sawyer set the plate down and added, "She mentioned the boy who returned a handkerchief cleaner than most people return favors." My brain stalled. Brielle whispered, "Mom!" Mrs. Sawyer only touched Brielle's shoulder once and walked back toward the kitchen. She solved nothing. She only locked the consequence that Brielle had created by bringing me home. The room stayed quiet after she left. Daisy fixed that immediately. She pointed at my backpack near the couch. "Do you have more books?" "One." Daisy reached for the bag. Brielle moved first. "Daisy, do not dig through Connor's things." Daisy froze with one hand already inside. Too late. The tiny paper pouch from Shellwall came out between her fingers. My soul dropped through the floorboards. Daisy held it up. "This is small." Zoe sat up straight. Brielle went still. The shell charm had finally chosen violence. "Daisy," I said carefully, "hand that to me." Daisy turned it over, saw the pale shell through the opening, and gasped. "You made Brielle a present," Daisy announced. The living room stopped breathing. Zoe whispered, "Oh, we are eating today." Brielle stared at the pouch. Her voice came out low. "Connor." I held out my hand. Daisy gave me the pouch with the solemn respect of a child surrendering explosives. I looked at Brielle. Every exit in the room shut itself. The old Connor would have used the charm like a plea. He would have shoved it at her and begged the gift to do years of emotional labor. I opened the pouch instead and placed the shell charm on my palm. Pale shell, blue bead, silver clasp. Small enough to be honest. "I bought it after the handkerchief and the notes," I said. "Phoebe helped because I was about to buy something terrible." Brielle's eyes lifted at Phoebe's name. I kept going before jealousy could hijack the room. "It was supposed to be a thank you," I said. "For helping when I was sick, for the handkerchief, and for the parts where you acted before you could explain." Brielle said nothing. I placed the charm on the coffee table instead of forcing it into her hand. "No pressure attached," I said. Daisy leaned over it. "If Brielle does not want it, I do." Brielle grabbed the charm so fast Zoe choked. Daisy blinked. Brielle realized what she had done. Her hand closed around the shell. "It is mine," Brielle said. Daisy studied her sister. "Then wear it." Brielle looked trapped by a child and a bead. I reached for the coffee table, picked up the silver clasp, and held it out instead of touching her sleeve. Brielle placed her wrist near my hand, then stopped herself halfway. Her pride tried one last little kick. Daisy sighed. "Brielle, he already knows you like it," Zoe whispered. "A legend." Brielle took the charm back and closed it inside her fist. Daisy reached for it again. Brielle pulled her fist to her chest. Daisy gasped. "You do like him," Brielle said. "I like the charm." Daisy stared at her sister with merciless child logic. "That is not a different sentence," Zoe whispered. "She has a point." Daisy nodded like she had already won the room. The charm stopped being my secret. The object did the humiliating work for free. Daisy looked at me. "She wants it." "I noticed," I said. Brielle looked like she wanted to vanish into the hoodie forever. Daisy had dragged the charm into daylight. Brielle claimed it before anyone could turn it into a safe joke. Mrs. Sawyer returned with a plate of snacks and saw the shell charm in Brielle's hand. Her smile changed. She did not ask where it came from. She only said, "That suits you." Brielle's fingers tightened around it. Zoe stood abruptly. "I have decided Daisy needs to show me where the juice boxes live." Daisy frowned. "They are in the kitchen." Zoe took Daisy by the shoulders and gently turned her. "Wonderful. Lead the expedition." Daisy looked at Brielle. "Can Connor come?" Brielle answered too fast. "Connor can stay here." Zoe's eyes sparkled. "Outstanding," Zoe said. No follow-up questions. She marched Daisy toward the kitchen. Daisy shouted back, "Do not lose my dragon book." "I will guard it with my life," I said. Zoe disappeared with Daisy, then leaned back around the doorway for one last hit. "Brielle," Zoe said, "use words, I beg you as a taxpayer." Brielle grabbed a couch pillow and threw it. Zoe vanished before impact. The pillow hit the wall and dropped. Brielle and I stood in the living room with the shell charm between her fingers, my hoodie on her shoulders, and Mrs. Sawyer humming in the kitchen like she had not just detonated her daughter's entire defense system. Brielle looked at the charm. "You were going to give this to me quietly?" Brielle asked. "Through when I stopped finding reasons to panic." Her mouth twitched once. "That could have taken years," Brielle said. "Probably." She rubbed her thumb over the blue bead. "You called it a thank you." Her eyes leered. "Only that?" Brielle asked. The question had teeth. I could have lied kindly. I could have said yes and protected both of us for one more afternoon. I was tired of polite hiding. "It started as a goodbye to the old me," I said. "Then you kept walking closer." Brielle's breath caught. I let the silence do the work. Then I left it alone. Mrs. Sawyer called from the kitchen. "Brielle, the rain stopped. Connor should head home before it starts again." Brielle looked toward the window. The sky outside had turned dark blue. Down the block, early fireworks popped once, too soon and too loud. Daisy squealed from the kitchen. Brielle flinched at the sound, then closed her hand around the charm. "I will walk you out," Brielle said. Zoe reappeared with a juice box and Daisy beside her. Zoe gave me a thumbs up so dramatic it bordered on medical. Daisy hugged my side before Brielle could stop her. "Come again," Daisy said. "Bring sharks." "I will consider aquatic diplomacy," I said. Daisy accepted that like a treaty. At the door, Mrs. Sawyer looked at me again. "Thank you for being kind to Daisy," Mrs. Sawyer said. "And to Brielle, even when she made it hard." Brielle went still beside me. Mrs. Sawyer skipped explanations, proof, and clean labels. She had watched her daughter bring me home in my own hoodie, and seen enough to stop pretending it was casual. Brielle whispered, "Mom." Mrs. Sawyer smiled. "I said mostly good things, sweetheart." Brielle hid half her face in the hoodie sleeve. I stepped onto the porch. Brielle followed, still holding the charm. The house door closed behind us. The neighborhood popped with another firework. Brielle stood beside me under the porch light, her guard lower than I had ever seen it. The family had already exposed the shape of the truth. Now there was only one question left. Would Brielle say it herself, or would pride steal the words at the door? The next firework cracked before Brielle could hide behind the porch light. She flinched and grabbed my wrist. Same girl who used to shake my hand off like I was a stain. Same hand, different pressure. This time she held on because she wanted to. I looked down. Brielle noticed and started to let go. I did not chase her hand. I only stayed still. The no-chase rule had carried me through rumors, side girls, Spencer's clean smile, and every stupid object Ridgemont turned into a scoreboard. I would not break it one step before the answer. Brielle saw me stop myself. That mattered. She reached again and took my hand on purpose. The shell charm rested in her other palm. The porch stripped away every excuse. Zoe was inside. Wendy and Phoebe were back in their own worlds. Daisy had spent her ambush and vanished with a juice box. Brielle stood in front of me with fireworks popping down the street at the worst possible timing. Brielle stared at our hands. "Connor," Brielle said, "I need to say this before I become a coward again." Nodded once. She took a breath. "When you followed me around, I acted like it meant nothing," Brielle said. "I acted like you were just annoying because that was easier than admitting I waited for it." My chest tightened. She kept going, faster now, like if she slowed down pride would tackle her from behind. "You were always there in the morning, at lunch, after class, near the lockers." I complained, but my day still had you in it. The fireworks smoke drifted over the street. Brielle squeezed my hand. "You picked up my pen, waited at my locker, remembered the milk I liked, and I acted like all of it was dirt on my shoe," Brielle said. "Then you stopped picking up the pen. You stopped waiting. You even made me bend down and get my own stupid pen in front of everyone." Her voice shook once. "I deserve that," Brielle said. The words hit harder because she did not decorate them. "When you stopped, I thought I would feel free," Brielle said. "Then your seat was empty, and Jenna sat with you, and Wendy fixed your hair, and Phoebe knew your smile outside school, and I got angry at everyone for valuing something I had been kicking for free." My answer finally had words. The story had been circling them since the volleyball hit my head, and Brielle kept walking. Brielle had missed me. She had relied on me and hated losing access more than she hated my attention. Hearing it out loud should have made me triumphant. It made me careful. Brielle looked up. "I missed you every day," Brielle said. My throat locked. She lifted the shell charm. "This is small," Brielle said. "That makes it worse. You still noticed what I would use. You still cared, even after I made caring humiliating." I wanted to tell her I had never stopped. The sentence almost left my mouth. Then I remembered every hallway laugh, every locker rejection, every moment I mistook crumbs for proof. I kept my feet planted. Brielle saw that too. Her eyes shone, but her voice stayed clear. "I do not want you back as the boy who waits for me to be nice," Brielle said. "I want you beside me because I choose you, and because you choose me back." The charm shook between her fingers. "Connor," Brielle said, "will you be with me? Officially?" She had asked out loud. The hallway rumors, the substitutes, and the Zoe condition all fell behind that one sentence. Brielle Sawyer asked. I looked at our hands. "Official means people see it?" I said. "I know." "Spencer sees it." Brielle's grip tightened. "Good. You also cannot call me annoying when you get embarrassed tomorrow." Her mouth twitched through the nerves. "I can call you annoying as my boyfriend." That almost killed me. She had put the word out first. I should have answered smoothly. I had no smooth left. "Yes," I said. "One word. Enough." Brielle breathed out like she had been holding that breath since the Commons cafeteria. I found my voice a second later. "I still like you," I said. "I probably liked you through every dumb version of myself. I hated how small I got around you, so I stopped feeding it." Brielle's eyes stayed on mine. "I know," Brielle said. "That is why I had to come to you. That line closed the gate behind the old script. Then she stepped closer and reached for both my hands. She reached first. I let her. Our fingers locked. Another firework popped, and Brielle did not flinch away this time. She leaned her forehead against my shoulder for 1 second. I looked over her head at the quiet street and thought about the old version of me waiting outside lockers for scraps. That guy would have cried at this. I respected him for surviving. Then I let him retire. Behind the front curtain, a shape moved. Brielle lifted her head and looked toward it. I swear, if Zoe is taking notes, I said, she is definitely taking notes. The curtain twitched again. Zoe's face appeared for half a second, eyes huge, grin wider. Daisy's smaller face popped under hers. Mrs. Sawyer pulled both of them back before Brielle could turn. Brielle heard the curtain rustle. Her ears went red. Zoe is watching, Brielle whispered. Daisy too. Brielle closed her eyes. I am leaving this family. The paperwork sounds heavy. She laughed once into my shoulder. Small laugh. Huge reward. Then she stepped back and threaded the shell charm onto the zipper pull of my hoodie, which she was still wearing. I am keeping both for tonight, Brielle said. The hoodie too? Evidence of weather damage. I raised an eyebrow. She looked away. And because it is warm. Fine! She could steal outerwear. I had stolen peace from the entire school by accident. I walked home with my hand still warm from hers. Marley was waiting at the burned kitchen table when I came in. My sister looked at my face, then at my empty hoodie hook, then back at my face. Marley said, you either got robbed or upgraded. Both, I said. Marley slid a crooked tie across the table. Wear that tomorrow, Marley said. If she is going to make you official, stop dressing like a side quest. I stared at it. You keep a tie ready for emotional emergencies? Marley shrugged. Mom does. I weaponize. The next morning came with light rain. Of course it did. Ridgemont loved callbacks more than education. I wore the tie because Marley threatened to tie it around my backpack if I refused. It sat crooked under my collar. I left it that way because fighting fabric before school felt below my pay grade. At the corner near Ridgemont, someone stood under the gray sky in my hoodie. Brielle Sawyer waited for me. She had the hood up. The shell charm hung from the zipper pull. Her hair framed her face, damp at the ends, and she looked straight at me instead of pretending the sidewalk was fascinating. For 2 years, I had been the idiot waiting in places she might pass. That morning, Brielle waited. The old joke died a little before first bell. A freshman girl near the crosswalk whispered, Is Brielle waiting for Connor? Her friend whispered, Looks like it. Brielle heard both of them. She did not move away. That was the flex. Quiet, brutal, and completely legal. I stopped in front of her. You kept my hoodie, I said. Brielle touched the zipper. You kept my handkerchief too long first. Strong legal defense. I learned from you. She reached for my tie. I froze. She saw it, and her expression softened. Connor, Brielle said, I am allowed now. That line nearly ended me on the sidewalk. I lowered my chin. Brielle fixed the knot with careful fingers. A car hissed past on the wet road. 2 Ridgemont students slowed near the gate. The gossip table boy saw us and opened his mouth. Zoe appeared behind him from nowhere and clamped a hand on his shoulder. Choose life, Zoe said. He closed his mouth. Good boy. Final development. Spencer Merritt stood near the entrance with his bag over one shoulder. He saw Brielle's hands on my tie, saw my hoodie on her, saw the shell charm at her zipper. His face did the math. It failed him. Spencer walked closer anyway, because pride loves second funerals. Brielle, Spencer said, can we talk before class? Brielle did not drop my tie. She finished the knot first. Then she looked at Spencer. Not now, Brielle said. I am walking with Connor. The rain kept falling. Spencer had no umbrella this time, no route sheet, no clean excuse. He only had the answer everyone else could hear. Zoe whispered behind him, Ouch! Minimalist. Spencer stepped back. The freshman girl at the crosswalk looked from Spencer to my crooked tie and whispered, He lost before the bell. Her friend whispered, To a tie? Zoe said, To follow through. Spencer heard it and chose survival over breathing louder. Brielle finished the knot and smoothed it once. Then she took my hand. Spencer saw it. Zoe saw it. So did the same school that had spent years treating me like Brielle's unpaid background noise. Spencer's jaw tightened. He looked at Brielle like he still expected the clean choice to win. Brielle did not look back. She walked with me through the gate. Zoe fell into step on Brielle's other side, grinning so hard it had to hurt. Official? Zoe asked. Brielle said, Yes. Zoe slapped both hands over her heart. Ridgemont history. I was here, I suffered, and I deserve credit. I said, You deserve supervision. Brielle squeezed my hand once. Both, Brielle said. At the lockers, the gossip table girl raised her phone like the old cafeteria photo had taught her nothing. Brielle saw it. She lifted our joined hands half an inch and said, Make sure you get my good side. The girl lowered the phone so fast, the case smacked her locker. Zoe made a sound that could only be described as spiritual victory. The commons hallway went quiet in waves. The gossip table saw the hoodie first, then the handhold, then the tie Brielle had fixed. By the time we reached the lockers, their favorite joke had no oxygen left. Mr. Fallon passed with a stack of papers and stopped mid-step. He looked at my tie. He looked at Brielle's hand in mine. Mr. Fallon said, unexpectedly painless. Full circle. Teacher edition. Brielle laughed under her breath. At her locker, she turned toward me instead of dismissing me. The old habit tried to twitch inside my chest. Wait for her to leave. Ask if she needed anything. Turn one smile into a full-time job. I did none of it. Brielle was the one who tightened her hand around mine. Walk me to class, Brielle said. I looked at her. She lifted her chin, embarrassed and stubborn. Please, Brielle added. Zoe gasped. Manners too? The hoodie has powers, Brielle said. Zoe! I smiled. Sure, I said. We walked. The chase was gone, so were the crumbs. I no longer trailed after a girl pretending I was invisible. Brielle chose the pace. I chose to stay beside her. Spencer did not follow. The rumor table stayed quiet. The shell charm clicked softly against the zipper of my stolen hoodie as Brielle fixed my tie one more time before class. Mr. Fallon started writing the date, then paused exactly like he had on the first morning I stopped greeting her. Zoe saw him pause and whispered, full circle academic damage. Brielle squeezed my hand under the desk. No one mistook it for an accident. Spencer walked in last. He stopped beside Brielle's old window seat, the same place he used to hover with his root sheet and polished smile. Brielle's bag was not there. She had placed it beside mine. Spencer looked at the empty desk, then at us. The room waited for him to say something brave and stupid. He chose survival. He sat 2 rows away. Zoe leaned toward Brielle and whispered, the replacement package has been returned unopened. Brielle whispered back, Zoe, be normal for 1 minute. Zoe said, I have never trained for that. I looked down at Brielle's hand in mine. She did not hide it under the desk anymore. The girl who once told me to stop hovering had waited in the rain, reached first, asked out loud, and cleaned up my crooked knot in front of everyone. I had stopped simping. Brielle Sawyer finally had to do the chasing.